Yep, I'm ready to go. If you are, just let me know.
Yep, all set.
All set? Thank you. Before I open the hearing for the Barnstable Conservation Commission, I would like to ask Angela to do a roll call for the quorum purpose.
Abadili.
Present.
Foster. Not yet. Hearn.
Present.
Lee.
Present?
No Sampu yet. Tangney, present. Darcy Carley.
Present.
Staff member Kim Kavanaugh.
Present.
And Agent Ed Hoops.
Present.
So we have 4, and that's a quorum.
Thank you. Acting under the provisions of Mass General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40, and or Chapter 237 of the Code of Town of Barnstable, the Barnstable Conservation Commission will hold a public hearing on Tuesday, October 15, 2024 at 3 p.m. for the applications of Paul M. and Stephanie Baxter, Matthew and Stacy Owens, Thea F. Stallworth, Alexandra B. Stallworth, and Helen Stallworth Carley, Francis T. and Julia B. Kelly, trustee, the Kelly Oath Post Realty Real Estates Trust, Josh Bankley, Tom Portals Construction Company, Inc., David Shastaney, Town of Barnstable, DBW Engineering Divisions. This hearing is being recorded and broadcast on the Town of Barnstable's Government Access Channel. The plans and application are on file and may be reviewed by scheduling appointments by sending email requests to Darcy Curley at 230 South Street, Hyannis. This meeting is being recorded and broadcast on the Town of Barnstable's Government Access Channel. In accordance with the Mass General Law, Chapter 38, Section 20, please let the chair know if anyone is recording this meeting. Hearing none. This afternoon's hearing agenda is posted on the town's website. On the agenda, next to each application is the amount owed to the Town of Barnstable for the cost of advertisement. Please send your checks to Conservation Divisions at 230 South Street before the hearing.
Tom, excuse me, and Louise, I believe, just entered.
Okay, thanks. Remote participations. The Conservation Commission's public hearing will be held by remote participation as a result of an act extending certain COVID-19 measure adopted during the state of emergency, signed by the governor on March 29, 2023, suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law. Remote public access to this hearing should be provided in the following manner. 1, the hearing will be televised via Xfinity Channel 8 or High Definition 1072. It may also be accessed via Town of Barnstable's Government Access Channel. 2, the real-time public comment can be addressed to the Conservation Commission utilizing the Zoom link 899-9578-9189 or use the toll-free phone number 888-475-4499 as shown on the agenda. Third, the public can also email the comments to darcy.curley@town.barnstable.ma.us at least 8 hours prior to the hearing. Please note under the continuance this afternoon for Mark Casper, CB's Enterprise LLC, has request for a second continuance without testimony to October the 29th. We have 2 items under the old and new business. The first one is emergency declaration request, contour entrance channels, severe hazards to navigation request for support letter from commissions to DEP. Who's with us, Brian?
Good afternoon, Brian Taylor, Harbor Master. Yes, sir. We submitted it. I believe Foth is here to speak to it.
Who?
Hey, so I'm Paul Marsala. I'm with
Oh,
both
Paul.
representing the town and the Harbor Master's office on this.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Hey, good afternoon, everybody. So I'm going to try to share my screen. I have a little presentation to get everybody up to speed. Okay, can everybody see that?
Yes.
Yes.
All right. So we have the Katuitt entrance and embayment channels. This is an emergency dredging request. Presenting this on behalf of the town and in particular the Harbor Master's office. So as a background, you may be aware the Katuitt entrance and embayment channels, the dredging is fully permitted. This work consists of maintenance dredging of the channel with placement of material on the adjacent dead neck by the Barnstable County Dredge. Late winter storms in 2024 delayed the work, and in April 2024, work was postponed due to nesting bird time of year restrictions. This project was scheduled to recommence in October 2024, and it is currently underway with the Barnstable County Dredge actively dredging in the channel and placing material on dead neck. So the sand movement here, the sand from dead neck transports in an east to west direction toward the Catuit Bay entrance and embayment channels. Maintenance dredging is authorized, and the Barnstable County Dredge routinely pumps this material back up onto dead neck. In spring 2023, these figures show the figure to the right shows the survey and the spit that has extended out towards the channel. This is typical on a year-to-year basis, and the currently authorized channel is a sufficient template to capture this dredged material and place it back up onto the beach. When the Barnstable County Dredge came back this October to commence with the work, a new pre-dredge survey was conducted, and it was found that this spit had continued to extend over the summer months, and actually continued up on and over the currently authorized embayment channel. So off to the right, you see where we have the brown negative soundings is actually dry at mean low water. So this is up above, well above the low tide mark and dry. And where you see that it's red is the authorized depths extending, the spit extending way to the west of the current channel limits. So we have an emergency situation. This was identified immediately following the pre-dredge survey when we all sat and had a call looking at the data. The Barnstable County Dredge is still currently on site dredging the currently authorized limits, so work is continuing. But if they continue to limit the dredge to just that footprint, a shoal will remain to the west of the channel. So that this box out on the left figure is showing where you would have a shoal, some of it actually even partially exposed at low tide to the west of the authorized channel. It would be dry at low tide, and it would be barely submerged at higher tides. And this presents a major hazard to navigation. Off to the right, it summarizes this. So it's the same depth contours, but it's showing the amount of fill of accretion that's actually happened since the 2023 survey. So you see up to 11 feet has actually vertically filled in to the west of the channel since the 2023 survey, when this was first permitted, and before my time, but I'm sure this project was first presented to this commission for an order of conditions. So I'm not sure if it's been circulated to everybody, but the Harbor Master's Office has written a letter authored to the commission requesting that you authorize emergency dredging. So with the Barnstable County Dredge on site, the town is requesting an emergency authorization to dredge an area approximately 100 feet by 100 feet to the west of the authorized channel to remove the bulk of this new shoal. That's in order to keep it from remaining a hazard to navigation after Barnstable County Dredge leaves. So once they leave, it's uncertain, but it would likely be many years, could be 5 to 10 years before they would be back to dredge this. It's approximately 1,800 cubic yards, covering about 11,000 square feet. The current dredging, for perspective, on the entire channel is about 22,000 cubic yards. So this is, it's a not insignificant percentage, but just wanted to have that figure out for the commission to, be able to put this emergency portion into perspective. So this extended sand spit in the request for the emergency dredging is of the same source as the already authorized dredging. So the material would be proposed to be placed back onto dead neck under the same order of conditions currently issued, and all the same conditions would apply. We did take another look at the eelgrass survey from fall of 2024. Sorry, that should be fall of 2023, which showed no eelgrass proposed in the emergency dredge area. And I just wanted to run through the process in case folks aren't aren't familiar, so the harbor master has already sent a letter to the commission expressing his opinion that this is emergency action is necessary to prevent a threat to the safe navigation and public safety. We've contacted David Wong, Mass DEP 401. So he's been informed. He supports the action if the Conservation Commission agrees that this is an emergency action, and he has regulation supporting. I won't read the whole regulation here, but it essentially instructs the 401 agency to concur with the commission should you find that it's appropriate. Following a certification as an emergency by the commission, the town would go to Mass DEP Chapter 91, Office of Waterways for emergency authorization for dredging, which would be followed by an amendment request. And then should the conservation and Chapter 91 agree that the town may proceed, we would also consult the Army Corps of Engineers. Everybody has been, unofficially notified that the process is underway, so it won't be a surprise to any of these folks. But given the timeline that we have while Barnstable County Dredge is still on site, just wanted to outline what this procedure would be in case there's questions. And I could provide any additional information to the commission or questions or comments that you may have.
Thank you, Paul.
Yeah.
Any questions from the commissioner? Bill?
Yeah, I'm all in favor of it, but I missed how long it took for it to be accrete 11 feet of sediment. How long was that? The initial survey was when?
So this was 2023. I actually have, if you don't mind, I can X out of that. I have the dates of the survey here in another window.
You're talking a year?
A year and a half. So what had happened during these storm events that that we think is probably driving this condition? There was a breach. There was a breach completely of the area just to the west of the jetty on the eastern side of Dead Neck, and when that completely breached, the flowing of waters in and out must have or may have increased the rate. But no, this is not a typical sedimentation rate that has been seen in this area, as far as I can tell.
Thanks.
Thanks, Bill. Louise?
That being said, assuming we approve this, my question is, does this now become the approved dredging footprint, or is this every time it comes up, is this an emergency situation? Whichever it is, we probably should be clear about it in our approval.
Yep. So as far as the authorizations from you folks at the commission, this would not be an addition to the footprint. My understanding, once we take an approval from the commission to Chapter 91, it would be a temporary amendment. So it would not be included as a maintenance for the next iteration of dredging. However, it would be at the town's discretion for the next round of permitting, should they want to try to include some area as a contingency for shoaling for future dredging. It would be, they could seek authorization as new dredging, but no, it would not be, by touching it now, it does not include it as a candidate to be called maintenance dredging in the future. It would still need to be approved under the regulations for new dredging.
Thank you.
Thanks, Louise. John?
Thank you, Tom. As someone who has navigated multiple times this past summer through that Katuitt Cut, it was incredibly narrow, incredibly dangerous from a navigating point of view. The channel was moved way over in order to protect boaters going in and out of there. And I would absolutely think that this approval is necessary.
Thank you, John. Darcy, you want to make any comment?
No, well, just that I do support this, and I see this as a emergency situation, so.
But no, that's okay. So this request is for a support letter from the conservations, right, Paul?
So this would be, and I will pull this form up for viewing. I have sent it to Darcy as well. This is a sample, but I've sent the Word file, I believe, over to Darcy. So this is a sample from a different project, but there's a WPA a wetlands protection emergency certification form.
Yep.
That would be signed by the commissioners. This is what would be moved forward in the short term in lieu of an order of conditions. Had this event not be so closely tied to a dredging project that already has an order of conditions, we would be doing an after the fact NOI and going through the process to get an after the fact order of conditions. Being that this is essentially amending and a project that's ongoing, I'll leave that up to the commission on how we proceed after this emergency is declared and moved forward. We can definitely talk about administratively whether the commission would like an after the fact NOI submitted just for this, or how you would like to proceed with that.
Thank you. So if I understand correctly, you're asking us the conservationists to approve this is an emergency declaration request plus a support letter, correct?
I believe that this form is sort of the support letter that was referenced.
Yes, we're familiar with that form. I'm good with
Okay.
it. I know where to get the form, and I can sign currently for the commissioners as we are doing for the orders of. I'm doing for the orders of conditions.
Mhm.
We just staple another page to it that has authorization from the commissioners that it's okay for me to sign. So I should be able to get this out tomorrow.
Okay, that'd be great.
Could I have a motion to approve this emergency declaration request?
So moved.
Second,
Second,
Roll call.
Abadili,
Aye.
Foster,
Aye.
Hearn,
aye.
Lee,
Aye.
and Tangney. Aye, that's unanimous.
Thank you. Good luck, Paul. Good
Hey,
luck.
thank you, everybody. Appreciate it. Have a good rest of your meeting afternoon. Thank you.
The second item on the old and new business is the proposed 2025 Conservation Commission's meeting schedules. First, thank you for Kim and Angela for doing the draft for this meeting schedule for 2025. And I kind of looking at it, it seems to be in reasonable schedule. So I don't know whether the commissioner has any comment on this one before I go for vote.
Tom, I don't remember having voted on this before.
We did last
some-
year, because I remember the
We
first
did?
time we did it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
last year were
Yeah.
asked for feedback. I mean, I have no problem with this
Yeah.
game.
Yeah, I know he's discussed it, but I didn't know we voted. Either way, big deal, whatever. It's great. I was just surprised that he asked for a vote.
Could I have a motion to approve the 2025 Conservation Commission's meeting schedules?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Abadili,
Aye.
Foster,
Aye.
Hearn,
Aye.
Lee,
Aye.
and Tangney. Aye, that's unanimous.
Thank you. We have two revised plans. The first one is Gordon and James Slaney, SE3-6152. This is 878 Main Street, Contuit. Arlene?
Good afternoon, Arlene Wilson, AM Wilson Associates here for the Slaneys. We had a pool contractor that got a little bit out of control and decided that he would put a gracious curve around the patio for this pool. The commission had approved its replacement with reconstruction of the old patio, but with stone or masonry instead of wood, which it was previously. So you have, I believe, a plan that shows both the previous footprint that was supposed to have happened and the new one. The new footprint would require about 931 square feet of mitigation. We are proposing 950 square feet of mitigation in the northeast corner of the yard. It would replace turf lawn in its entirety and butt up against almost the only remaining little piece of woodland that's on the site. So it should improve wildlife habitat by giving them a little bit bigger block of cover and some food sources.
Do you mind to share the plan?
Oh, let's hope. There we go.
Thank you.
So the red line, which is a little geometric, is the old patio footprint. And the black line is what got built. And the mitigation plot is in the northeast corner here. We're proposing to leave a 15-foot space of lawn between the new mitigation plot and existing landscape plantings along a retaining wall, because this is the only access for construction purposes to the yard should something go wrong and they need to get a piece of equipment in there.
Thank you, Arlene. Any questions from the commissioner?
I'm sorry, I
Darcy?
do have a question. I'm sorry, Arlene, I'm just trying to find what it is that they're going to be planting. I didn't see it on, and I would have liked to see some kind of demarcation, but I'm like, what? I can't find it.
I thought. Oh, that's probably my fault, Darcy. I'm happy to provide you with a planting plan. The idea is to use taller shrubs and trees in that area, all natives. So probably things like mountain laurel and chokeberry, bayberry, a mix of evergreen and deciduous.
Okay, if we're not going to do demarcation, I would have asked that I definitely see what's going in and that the larger plants are the ones going up front.
Yeah.
Maybe the commission could approve this subject to sending me, staff review of what's going in and understanding with the location in 3 to 5 gallon size.
How about the demarcation? Do you need the demarcation?
With this,
I would add that I think that's necessary, Darcy, if I could jump in.
okay. Yes,
Yeah.
for demarcation.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
Is there any more comments from the commissioner? No. Could I have a motion to approve this revised plan subject to the review by staff on the types of planting, the size, and the demarcations? John, go ahead.
Yeah, can I amend that to subject to review and approval by?
Yeah, subject
Thank
to
you.
review and approval. Yes. So we make the motion amended. Anyone second?
Second,
Roll call.
Abadili,
Aye.
Foster,
aye.
Hearn,
Aye.
Lee,
Aye.
Tangney, aye. It's unanimous.
Thank you. Thanks, Arlene.
Thank you.
The second revised plan is Terry L. Simpson's trustee SE3-6090. And this is 525 South Main Street, Centerville. John?
Good afternoon, John O'Day from Sullivan Engineering Consulting. I'll work on bringing up the plan for you all. This project at 525 South Main Street was to relocate and renovate an existing dwelling and also relocate the driveway. The house has been picked up and moved. And as we staked out the approved driveway, so the existing driveway, we gave an overlay. The existing driveway is highlighted in pink. The wetland is up kind of in this corner, northeast corner by South Main Street. The approved driveway was in orange. As we staked that to start construction of the kind of walls along that were coming off of the house, it became clear that that was a very difficult maneuvering into this lower level garage. And so we are here asking to change that location to what's shown highlighted in purple. So obviously this is still, a significant increase in separation from the wetlands. We still have a reduction in hardscape in the 50, and we have updated the buffer zone calculations and expanded that mitigation area, some of that now being on the landward side of the driveway. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, John. Any questions from the commissioner? Seeing none? Could I have a motion to approve the revised plans as submitted?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Abadili,
Aye.
Foster,
Aye.
Hearn,
Aye.
Lee,
Aye.
and Tangney, aye. That's unanimous.
Thank you, John.
Thank you.
Yep. We have 7 easy certificates of compliance. The first one is John A. and Colleen Borsali, and they have 2 SE3 number. The first one is SE3-6002 and SE3-6103. The third one is Thomas H. Lowell, SE3-5017. The fourth one is Pamela Alice Simons, Elder, Trustees, Anchor to Wynwood Real Estate Trust, SE3-6051. Barbara C. Dorothy, SE3-5806. Town of Barnstable, DBW, SE3-5212. And Gregory J. and Julianne P. Pintos, Trustee, JDC Ocean Avenue Realty Trust, SE3-5943. Could I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Abadili,
Aye.
Foster,
Aye.
Hearn,
Aye.
Lee,
Aye.
and Tangney, aye. That's unanimous.
Thank you. We have a 5 enforcement order. The first one is Patrick Broom, 91 Sterling Road, Hyannis, maps 268, parcel 203, alterations of the 50-foot buffer to a wetland resource area, vegetated wetland by cutting vegetations, placing fill, and regrading. Ed? Ed, unmute yourself.
Thank you. You'd think I'd know that by now. All right. So this came in as a neighborhood complaint. You can see there's a wetland in the back corner of the property. To the right, you're seeing the aerial photo as it appears September 9th. There was a fair amount of clearing and brush and things that were cut and filled or pushed back toward the wetland here by the homeowner. That's what the site looks like now. They have actually put some siltation fence up there, so the site is secure. There's no erosion issue that you have to worry about right this moment. Pretty straightforward. I believe the homeowners were actually just looking to see green yards and their neighbors and around the neighborhood, and would like to do the same thing. They didn't realize they needed to have a permit. So what I'm asking is that they either remove the fill and restore the impacted wetland area, or buffer area, to the original conditions by November 30th, or they can also try to seek permission from the commission to let the fill remain and file a notice of intent for that purpose. The idea there would be that they would be enhancing the 50-foot buffer, which is really there's not a lot in there at this point other than dirt and splash. So by doing that, they would actually improve the buffer considerably. And if they were going to do file a notice of intent, that would have to be done by February 1st. Should the commission deny that permit, then they would have to file, or they would have to remove the fill within 30 days after the denial was issued. And that's all I have for that one. And the homeowners are in the audience as well.
First, let me go to the commissioner. Any question from the commissioner to Ed?
I have a question.
Hi, Bill.
Yeah. Ed, I think you just said that if they were to leave the fill in, it might be, if you will, an enhancement. And yet I would think you would want to have it planted with wild vegetation, right? I mean, what?
Yeah, so what actually, yeah, so what I was saying is that if you allow, if you want to go forward, they are supposed to be removing the fill. If they want to continue, or the idea that they're going to continue on to try and get the yard that they're looking for, that then they would have to file the notice of intent. The notice of intent would clearly come forth with a significant 50-foot buffer improvement. And that would be in terms of plantings and things like that. So yeah, that's not to just leave the dirt there and be done with it. It would be to enhance that 50-foot.
Okay, I'm okay with your order. I'm just looking to the future. That's all. Thank you.
Right. Thank you, Bill. Is there any other question from the commissioner? None. Patrick, the homeowner. Hello? Anyone representing the homeowner?
That's Kelly. I think you just need to unmute. There you go.
Who, Kelly?
Hello.
Hi. Hi. Do you understand what Ed is asking for this enforcement order?
Yes, we do understand. Yes, I have my husband here, Patrick, too.
Hello.
Hello. Do you understand what Ed is asking for under this enforcement order?
Yes, we do understand.
Okay. Good.
Thank you.
Thank you. Could I have a motion to approve the enforcement order as written?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Abadili.
Aye.
Foster.
Aye.
Hearn.
Aye.
Lee.
Aye.
And Tangney. Aye. That's unanimous.
Thank you. The second enforcement order is Eliza D. Cunningham, trustee, and L. Mayer Realty Trust, 547 Main Street, Austerville, map 141, parcel 100, alteration of a wetland resource area bordering vegetated wetland by cutting trees, failure to request a certificate of compliance for SE 3-5821. Ed.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. If Commission remembers, this is sort of part two of a tree cutting issue that went on in this neighborhood. The particular homeowner for this property had caused a couple trees to be cut on, or cut or pruned on the property at 110 East Bay. And we discussed that last hearing, last afternoon hearing, and that tree has been replanted. Everything is back in there. They've actually carried everything out as according to the enforcement plan. The second half of that, this was the property at 547 Main Street in Osterville. There were several trees that were cut within the wetland area. The homeowner was the one who had asked a tree company or a landscaper to cut the trees, I believe, for a view. And so what we are doing now is trying to finish up the replanting side of that. So you can see again, this was the area that we were talking about. The previous cutting had from last month was over here. A couple trees are over here now on the 547 Main Street property over here. Again, you can see the issue where the trees are down and some stumps from the trees that were cut. Again, I believe they were Tupelo. And so I've actually amended the enforcement order slightly from what I had originally written and issued to the homeowner. Again, it's just asking that the project engineer file a certificate of compliance request for FE 35821. Then again, because of the sensitive habitat that the trees were cut in, I'm asking that a certified company be hired to do any planning and restoration planting that's going to be required. Again, it's a relatively sensitive wetland area that needs a little bit more delicate dealing that way. So again, we're just asking that the trees be replaced. That will come based on the recommendations of the SERP certified company. I have tried to find out who the landscape company or tree company was who did the cutting. The homeowner did not remember or didn't care to share that information. So I will be seeking to send a non-criminal citation to the homeowner in order for those two trees, tree cutting instance. With that, I think I'm going to let you go. If you have any questions, the homeowner's son is in the audience. It's Edward Cunningham.
Thank you.
I mean, basically, I'm Edward, Elisa's son, and I just want to state I was gone for 18 months out of the country, for work, and came back to this. So I've tried to, as someone who's obviously a believer, I actually worked with the commission for the driveway project and made sure every single plant was in the big mitigation we did. And I'm on the advisory council of Mass Audubon, so I'm a big believer. I've tried to prosecute my mother as best as I can. I've asked her 1,000 questions, and she's a strong-willed 80-year-old Italian woman, and I have no idea what happened. I honestly don't, and cannot figure it out. So I apologize. We're the only ones that possibly could have benefited from it. So I don't know what else to say. So apologies, and obviously we will work with. I already talked to Ed, and obviously we'll work with him to do whatever we need to do. So. Apologies from us.
Good luck with your mother.
Yeah, well, that's a lifetime project.
I've been there.
I apologize. I mean,
yes, this is a lifetime thing. So
yeah, it is. So really, apologies. I believe in this stuff, so I'm sorry.
Yeah. No, we understand.
It is what it is.
Any question from the commissioner? No. Could I have a motion to approve the enforcement order as written?
Second.
Roll call.
Abadili,
Aye.
Foster,
Aye.
Hearn,
Aye.
Lee,
Aye.
and Tangney. Aye. That's unanimous.
Thank you, Ed, for working with Ed.
Yeah, exactly. Ed, you're going to follow up with me then. Is that what I do now? Okay.
Yeah, I will get back to you in the next day or so.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
The third enforcement order is F. Thomas Passes, trustees, the third amendment, FTP Revocable Trust of 2004, 98 Hayes Road, Centerville, maps 210, parcel 097, alterations of the buffer to a wetland resource area, Lake Rock Pocket, by creating and maintaining a beach without a permit. Ed?
All right, Mr. Chairman, again, probably is familiar to most of you. This was discussed at a dock hearing that you had with the homeowner several months ago now. We've taken a look into it, and there again, as Darcy had pointed out at the original meeting, there is no beach permitted for that area. There is a small area of sand that's in the southeast corner of the property. It appeared there sometime, I believe it was somewhere in 2019, about a year or so after the current homeowner purchased the property. It was all grass area in the or lawn area where the sand is now in place. Again, you can see it here in 2019. Sorry, so it was in 2019-20 when it was there. And again, it comes in April 2020. You can see the sand area there. And an earlier assessor's photo shows that same corner from 2016, where again, clearly there is just grass there. So I've spoken to Mark Burgess, who's representing. They are going to be moving forward with removing that sand and the sand beach area. I'm asking that they just do that by November 30th. They remove it completely, allow the grassy area to naturalize. They can to put a little bit of loam down to encourage some growth to prevent any erosion. That's fine. Sand must be removed from up to an upland site. And then if they would just call and ask, or just let me know after they've gotten that taken care of, I will go out and take a look at that, and everything should be set.
Thank you, Ed. Any questions to Ed? No? Mark, are you representing the homeowner on this?
I am, yes.
You understand what Ed is asking for you, right?
Yes, we've had previous discussions, and I've discussed it with the applicant as well. He has no problem. The only thing we were looking for from the commission is what we have, which is direction on how to remove it and what to do when it's gone. And the applicant said it'll be nice to have his dog bring less sand into the house.
I think you have a deadline of November the 30th, if I remember right, what the enforcement order is asking for. But as far as how, you can discuss that with Ed of removing it.
Well, I assume he'll have a landscaper go in there and rake it out down to whatever kind of natural soil is underneath. And as Ed said, he could put some loam down. My question is, would it be prudent to just throw some ryegrass down there just to get something going if we have time before it gets cold, or because it won't?
I think I would do something like that. I would also consider using some jute matting over top to hold everything in place.
Yeah, because it might not. Depending on what happens in the next month, it might not grow.
Right. Your jute matting is probably holding the soil stuff to avoid the erosions happening. So.
Yep.
I can make a note of that, and then we'll keep you posted. And Ed, I can save you a trip if I just have him take a couple of pictures of them.
That's fine.
Yeah.
That works.
Yep.
Thank you. Could I have a motion to approve the enforcement order as written?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Abadili,
Aye.
Foster,
Aye.
Hearn,
Aye.
Lee.
Aye.
And Tangney, aye. That's unanimous.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
The next enforcement order is ALJ Realty Corp. 700 Old Farmers Road, Marston's Mill, map 124, parcel 026, alteration of a wetlands resource area bordering vegetated wetlands and intermittent stream by cutting vegetations and placing fill and alterations of the buffer to a wetland resource area, BVW, by cutting vegetation. Ed?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Again, this one is actually pretty serious in that there has been what appears to be some fill in the wetland or edge of wetland and buffer zone. You can see the area here, the home that we're talking about. There is an intermittent stream that runs to the east side of the property. There are filings from other abutters all around the area. It is definitely a jurisdictional wetland. Again, it's intermittent stream with BVW along the edges and bank, and you can see it was fairly significant cutting of vegetation, some regrading, and fill that has been pushed around the site. So the vegetation is being pushed over to the stream is running in this direction here. Again, just some other idea of where the splash has been piled. And again, the stream is coming along this side here. And then the bottom three photos are just showing there's some heavy amounts of dirt that has been pushed into the to the very edge of the buffer and into the wetland. The person who was doing the work was operating the machinery was very heavy-handed, to say the least. They've severely damaged some trees along the bank here. I don't know that those are going to actually survive or not, but we will see in a few. Once we get the SERP certified person in there for that one as well. And again, dirt and stones that have been pushed down into the edge of the wetland as well. So again, this is a filling violation in a wetland resource area. So I'm asking again that a SERP certified company be hired to oversee the planning, review, and implementation of the restoration of the wetland. Once they get an immediate assessment done of what has happened, have them remove the fill by December 15th. Plan on filing a enforcement order response plan with the commission, and then carry out the work after that plan has been presented to you. There will be, like I said, significant amount of work that's involved with this. This is not going to happen within just a month or two or three. We're probably looking well into next summer before everything is said and done. And then, more planting as needed into the perhaps next fall. At that, I will leave it. I did want to let you know the person who did the cutting, you can see from the agenda that I've issued a citation to that person, Mr. Pino dos Santos. He is the person who is renting the home at 700 Old Falmouth Road. Mr. Marichal is the actual owner. The tenant took it upon himself to do this work because apparently the homeowner was actually out of the country at the time when the work was done. He came back to meeting representatives from conservation and the health department when he got back with the complaints here. So with that, I will stop. If you have any questions for me, I am here as well as Mr. Marichal, the homeowner, and I believe Mr. Mills, the attorney, Mr. Marichal's attorney, is here as well.
Any questions from the commissioner to add on this? Seeing none. Who's the homeowner here? Juan Michael?
Yes, that's correct, Mr. Chairman. Good afternoon. My name is Robert Mills, and I'm an attorney from Hyannis with the law firm of Princey Mills Law. And I'm here on behalf of Mr. Marichal, although Mr. Marichal is also on the call. You'll have to forgive me if I sound like I'm in a can. I'm in the car driving right now, but I can hear you fine. What Ed says is completely accurate in terms of how this transpired. I can tell you that Mr. Marichal is extremely upset that his tenant took this upon himself to undertake this work to create some sort of a barbecue area in his backyard. So the fill that was put there wasn't actually brought on site. It was removed from another part of the yard. That doesn't make it any better, but it's something that was done obviously completely without the knowledge of the homeowner. Once we got the enforcement order, Mr. Marichal sent it to me. I've spoken to Ed now 2 or 3 times. We've also spoken to Tom Bunker, who's the owner of BSS Design, which is a survey company, which you're probably familiar with from Falmouth. Tom's in the field for over 40 years. And as a result of that conversation, I've reached out to 3 different SERPs, if you will. Some of them you'll probably be familiar, Blue Flax Design, Crawford Land, and Wilkinson Ecological. I haven't gotten and I only reached out on Friday. And we haven't been involved in this for that long, but I hadn't heard back from any of them yet. I'm hopeful I will very soon so that we can get moving on some sort of a plan going forward. But we have every intention of complying with the enforcement order, but just want you to be aware that Mr. Marichal is just as distraught and upset about this as perhaps you are, and none of it was done with any of his consent, permission, or knowledge.
Thank you. Thank you for working with Ed on this one. I'm sure this is a surprise for the homeowner when he come back from vacations.
Yes.
This is not a fun thing. The SERP professional may take some time because you reach out to them on Friday and then Monday is a holiday. So, they may not have a chance to get back to you. So
right.
I'm sure they will get back to you this week. So
I'm hopeful. Yeah.
Yes. Could I have a motion to approve?
I have my hand up. I have on a different computer the text that Ed sent us, and I wasn't following literally what you guys are doing. He sent something to us earlier.
Yeah.
And it says wetland resource area restoration and planting should be completed by June 30th, 2024. Is that been corrected in the one that he
Sorry, that is a mistake. Somebody doesn't know how to use a computer, apparently. It was that's supposed to be 2025.
Okay.
But thank you. I'll make that correction.
Good. Okay, thanks.
Thanks. Could I have a motions to approve the enforcement order as amended?
So moved.
Second. Roll call.
Abadili.
Aye.
Foster.
Aye.
Hearn.
Aye.
Lee.
Aye.
And Tangney, aye. That's unanimous.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you, the homeowner. The last enforcement order, New Rushy Mars Realty LLC, 1541 Main Street, Contuit, map 017, parcel 007, alteration of a wetland resource area, vegetated wetland and flood zone, and alterations of the buffer to a wetland resource area. Let's see. Vegetated wetland by cutting vegetations, placing fill, and regrading without a permit, and failure to comply with an order of condition / approval plan of the record. Ed.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Again, this one is another significant and a serious violation that has come in. This actually came in, Attorney Mike Ford and Sean Reardon had come into the office to discuss some other work. And at that time, they had disclosed that they had run across an issue with this filling and unauthorized, unpermitted work on site. So the area, I think everybody's familiar with New Rushy Marsh Farm. The area in question is the area right here off of the main driveway, just a little bit beyond where the gate is for the property. You can see what was going on here. So the area that's down here in this left photo has always been an existing area like this. the applicant had come in a few years ago, more than a few years ago now, to do a I believe it was a Japanese Zen garden maybe, and yoga studio over in this area of the property. They had come in to amend that order to add a sculpture in this area here, which was very close to the wetland resource area. The commission did give permission to do that moving forward, and so in early 2024, the work began. The sculpture got installed, and then apparently, for reasons unknown, they continue to do more work up in this area where they have now replaced and filled wetland and buffer area. And now there is an existing manicured lawn, along with some new trees and things that are over here. And just so you can see a little bit better what we were talking about, the blue area was a pre-existing area. It was permitted where the sculpture was permitted. The yellow area is roughly the area that was impacted without permit. And again, here's the sculpture, and then it would be this area that we're talking about that got changed around. So again, I've written this more as a show cause hearing. So I'm asking that you let me know what you want done in the final resolution for this. It is staff recommendation that the full restoration of the impacted wetland area and the buffer, which is approximately 4,500 square feet, be conducted and implemented. And I would also ask that 5 years of annual monitoring reports be asked for as part of that monitoring, since it is dealing with wetland restoration. And again, because it's wetland restoration, that a certified company be retained to do the restoration planning, implementation of the restoration work, including the annual monitoring reports. That I will take your suggestions. I believe I saw Mike Ford and John Reardon are both in attendance as well. I think I saw somebody from Wilkinson as well.
Let me go to the commissioner first. John?
Thank you, Tom. Ed, I understand your recommendation. Could you tell the commission your reasons for that recommendation based on your expertise and experience?
Well, again, I mean, it seems like it was mostly wetland and buffer zone, certainly within 50 foot. The commission has always strongly adhered to protecting the 50 foot wherever possible, and clearly the wetland resource area as well. So I believe that the best way to do that moving forward is to remove the fill, restore the area with new wetland and wetland buffer plantings to allow the habitat to continue on, leaving it as manicured.
Thank you, Ed. Thank you. Okay, thank you, Ed.
Thanks, John. Ed, if you're restoring the area, do you need a protocol for that?
That would all be part of the planning phase of it. I think the SERP would have to first determine exactly where the wetland boundary lies or used to lie, and then they would be able to fill that in with, or they'll be able to understand where exactly the wetland needs to be restored, and versus the planning, the planting for the buffer. So that that would all be part of the protocol. I would assume that the best way to do that would be through an enforcement order response plan.
Right. Bill?
I just I am supportive of his recommendation for full restoration of the impacted wetland and the 50-foot buffer.
Thank you, Ed. Bill? I mean, not Bill, but Luis?
Thanks, Tom. I too am supportive of Ed's recommendation. I'm wondering who the contractor was who did this work?
I think Mike might be able to fill that in better than I don't know the person's name who did it, but I believe Mike does.
Thank you.
John?
Yeah, I think before we say, it's my view that we ought to hear from the attorney and from Sean before reaching a conclusion. That's all.
No, I'm just going through the comment right now from.
No, I understand that, but.
And then I'm going to.
As commissioner, my position would be to listen to all arguments before rendering a decision. That's all.
Okay, John. Hi, Mike. Attorney Mike Ford.
Mike, you there?
Mike or Sean Bryden?
Mike usually goes first, but since I'm familiar with everybody here in the site pretty well, I'm here, Sean. Sean, I'm here. Sean, I'm here. I was on mute. I'm sorry.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Hi, Mike.
It's tough to be an attorney on mute, but occasionally. So anyway, thank you for the opportunity to address this before you decide what you're going to do. I'm here representing New Rushy Marsh LLC. Jeff Ingram, the manager. This is obviously the McCourt property. You're all very familiar with it. There have been many, many orders of conditions over the last 10 or 12 years that Sean and I have been involved in. And I know the commitment by the property owner has always been to try and do things exactly to the letter of the orders. In this particular case, Sean, in preparing for request of a certificate of compliance for the order of conditions for the Japanese garden, got a hold of me and said, there's a problem. And I said, what is it? He described it to me. I went to the site. He walked me through it. And he said, so what are our options? And I said, well, the first thing is we got to go report it to the commission. So he agreed. And that's the meeting that Sean and I had with Ed. We had some other business with Darcy before that on another order of conditions. And it was that day that we reported it and showed him the pictures and in detail. So we want to make this right. Mr. McCourt wants to make this right. We understand that the normal course is for, in a situation like this, regardless of how it happened, is to do restoration. Mr. McCourt has hired not only Sean's worked for him for years, and you'll hear from Sean in a moment of Tetra Tech, but also Wilkinson Ecological, Ian Peach, to come in and give him recommendations. And from those recommendations, we have developed a plan that we'd like to present to the commission, preliminary plan, as an alternative for your consideration, one which we think will have greater benefits for the environment than the simple restoration that is being asked for. So with that, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to, if you'll accommodate us, turn it over to Sean and who brought this issue to light, and have Sean kind of lead into what that proposal is all about. He'll probably give you some background on how we got here and how we have worked hard out at the farm to make sure this doesn't happen again. With respect to the request for the landscape company, it was Plant Terra LLC. And Mr. Chairman, I'll email this in to Ed so he has it. He doesn't have to take these notes. Sven Reisenberg is the owner of that company from North Falmouth. And they have done virtually all of the work in the last several years for landscaping on the farm property. So there's somebody known to the McCourt folks. They've done an awful lot of work there. And this may, I think, unfortunately, have been an issue of management and the failure to have the proper oversight from others on the property, which resulted in this happening over a period of time. So with that, and again, I'll email that to Ed, so he'll have that information, Mr. Chairman. Could I turn it over to Sean?
Thank you, Mike. Thank you for sending the email information to Ed to follow up. Sean?
Good evening, everybody. Sean Reardon with Tetra Tech. And first, so, as someone who's been before you dozens of times and takes a lot of pride in particularly this site, I want to apologize. We work really hard to prevent this kind of stuff from happening. And if I could, I'd just like to give a little bit of background. If I could share my screen.
Yes, please.
Some of the things are similar to what I don't think it's oh, there we go.
Yeah,
can you see the aerial photo of the site?
Yep. Yes.
So this is Main Street at the bottom where you see Monday, September 29th. And the area in question there's a series of willow trees and you can see the sculpture in the background. This is the sculpture that was approved under the amended order of conditions for the Japanese pavilion, which is over here. As Mike mentioned, I was asked to go out and sort of inspect things as it related to the Japanese pavilion and the installation of the sculpture. And I got out there and I was like, all right, I know we agreed to plant one willow tree as mitigation for the sculpture. There wasn't room for 3. And then I looked around, I was like, no, something happened here. And I went back and I looked through the old aerials and like the one you saw Ed showed, it showed work in this area, which I always knew was the edge of buffer zone. So, I mean, the edge of BVW. So I was like, all right, we have an issue here. I poked around a little further and in asking the Plantera what happened. And I think it was some confusion as to where the edge of the BVW was. Because if you guys have been out there, there's a pretty strong line of Phragmites along the edge. There was an area of heavy invasives in this area, and the Phragmite edge was more along towards the water body. And after removing the invasives, they mistook the edge of BVW for the edge of Phragmites as opposed to the edge of sort of a little bit more inland location of what was the record BVW line. So this wasn't ever really something that was intended to create any usable area or site a parking lot or anything like that. It really was done in the spirit of trying to do something great, which is plant more trees. In essence, tripling the mitigation that we had previously proposed. You can see here, there's definitely a distinction between the area where the edge of BVW is now and the area that was filled that sort of lends itself to that sort of explanation. That being said, there was clearly an issue that we had to figure out. We have an old wetland line through here from the filings for the original farm, which were back in 2014, 2013. So we did a comparison of those and found, yep, definitely a fill. And then we also noticed that this tree was not part of the original filing either. So it turns out sometime in 2018, 2019, a willow tree got planted here. And there was a small area of fill that was associated with that willow tree planting as well. Again, both occurrences for the same thing, planting trees adjacent to the buffer zone, trees that provide a pretty substantial amount of habitat. Fortunately or unfortunately, the trees are all large species. So the ones that were planted are 12-inch diameter, 15-inch diameter trees, massive root balls. So, I think what happened was the root ball in the excavation got kind of big and sort of it moved a little bit into the wetland area. That being said, we looked back at the old wetland line that was originally permitted back in 2013. And at the time that we did the sculpture, we just had a mock-up that was built in this area. So we didn't actually go back and redelineate the wetland boundaries. We just we just had presumed that that was the condition that was there. We're just building a sculpture in a lawn area. So what we didn't understand is at the time that this area was a little bit of fill in this area, about 1,500 square feet. So as Ed mentioned, total of about 4,500 square feet of wetland fill in 2 different situations over 4 or 5 years. Now, in talking with Ed, understanding that the goal would be restoration, started thinking to ourselves, really, the area is pretty exceptional and has a lot of habitat, what I'm calling habitat volume. So this tree here is about 35 feet in diameter. These trees are about 25 feet in diameter, all flourishing, doing really well, all provide really valuable pollinating, spring season pollinating, from what I understand from Ian. So the prospect of full restoration is, in our mind, sort of will have a negative impact in terms of removing these trees that otherwise are doing well, and potentially involving some sort of removal of the sculpture or a replacement of the sculpture. So what got us to thinking, is there a better solution? And in talking with Ian and in exploring things ourselves, we think a far better solution would be to consider either a replication of the filled area on the other side of the paddock where the mitigation for the town was done on the land that Rushy Marsh Farm donated to the town for the mitigation. So if you all recall, back about 5-6 years ago, that with the Main Street work, the town had some mitigation for fills along Main Street. Rushy Marsh Farm was nice enough to donate about 2,000 square feet of land in an easement to allow the wetland replication for fills along Main Street. What we're proposing to do is to either leave the area that's been filled not as is. We'd obviously do some sort of maybe some tailored restoration and some buffer zone planting, but to essentially leave a lot of that fill in place, and instead to replicate what is now a paddock area. So an area that has no trees. So keep an area that has trees and then restore in an area that doesn't have trees. Obviously, we do it at a 1.5 to 1 at least mitigation rate, so that if we had 4,000 square feet of fill on one side, we'd do 6,000 square feet of replication on the other. The other added benefit is we'd be sort of playing off of the mitigation that the town did in the same exact location. In our mind, it's just like, well, we understand we did something wrong. We think it's been Frank's reputation and the landowner's reputation that we try to do everything right, and everything that they do out here is exhaustive in its efforts to protect trees and to save trees. I mean, the fill happened in both cases to plant trees. So it's not a situation where we're trying to create additional buildable area or create additional sort of site improvements. It really was to plant more trees. So we're hoping that we could at least present something that's an option to a full restoration that we think returns a lot more value to the resource area and to the community at large. And yeah, we brought Ian Peach and Wilkinson Ecological on board specifically because clearly we need a little bit of help making sure that what we're proposing makes sense and is done well when it gets done. But also, we value their opinions and how they see this and where the potential opportunities might be. So with that, I'd just like to sort of turn it over to Ian Peach from Wilkinson, just to sort of maybe give a little bit of flavor of what our thought process is and where we'd prefer to take this rather than a full restoration.
Thank you, Sean. Ian?
Thank you, Sean. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Appreciate everyone's patience as we set the table here. And I'll share my screen very briefly and try to keep this pointed. We just wanted to paint a picture of where we see some opportunity for ecological uplift, as well as really exciting opportunity for replication that goes much beyond a sort of narrow view of getting something back. So, start here. So, if you can see my screen, I wanted to keep this really simple to start at this stage in the game. Just very simply, let's understand this as a shallow marsh and green. We've got Main Street to the south, and the paddock, very importantly, the paddock right here adjacent to the upland. That entrance is over there to the east. So these are just the main conceptual areas if you zoom out a little bit and think contextually. This is an important sort of photograph for where I'm going. This is the paddock. The paddock is functioning as lawn ecologically for all intensive purposes. So we're looking at a lawn with a fence adjacent to a wetland, also adjacent to an upland, also bounded by a road. So this is the landscape ecological condition we're seeing, in addition to looking closely at the entrance and what's possible over there. Looking at this in terms of moves and what may bring us the greatest ecological benefit, we study this in terms of, well, we have Main Street here, and a real challenge for wildlife are road crossings. In fact, wildlife death is often found with road crossings, and we would be sure that this road is a barrier to that, and even as it comes around the corner. And so when you have this wetland buffer and this corridor and wildlife's trying to stay in it, they're getting pinched down and forced to Main Street. So one thing we immediately identified is we can take a condition that is basically functioning as lawn, and we can make a really substantial and really well-located puzzle piece to the larger landscape ecological condition by proposing a paddock converted to a diverse wildlife supporting wetland that makes a very critical wildlife corridor connection to a really wonderfully intact upland woodland that I happen to poke around into, just making sure to understand where we are contextually. We'd also try to uplift and replicate area at an existing spillway that could use some enhancement as well. And then Sean had mentioned that former replication on Main Street, or I should say mitigation really, but we would be connecting to that, and that is in need. It needs stewardship, it needs focus, it needs care. So we'd be bringing all these things together in effect for a larger, more robust ecological uplift. So this, at least on a conceptual stage, is an important opportunity I wanted to share. We're not turning away from what's happening here to the east. There may be moves over there that work in concert with these larger moves, but I think it would be a shame to not think big here. And, you know, this is just a very visual kind of sketch understanding of where to be going. We're turning this paddock to a diverse wetland species, and this is showing a lot of herbaceous. I want to be clear to state that this is an awesome opportunity for many kinds of benefits, and specifically in the planting, we would be talking about trees, shrubs, herbaceous, the kind of wetland replication that you don't often get the chance to really dig into and do a fantastic job with. So I had mentioned this, and I'll go quickly, but these are the primary things that popped out to me on a conceptual level of a proposal like this. Definitely an improved connection for corridors, an important thickened buffer to that road, very important. That critical connection of wetland to uplands and demonstrated to be extremely critical. Fence removal, I know you work with that on a residential scale often, but to pull that fence completely out of there and have that be a corridor is wonderful. We did notice minor invasive plant pressure, so this is an opportunity to protect, conserve existing plant communities, and make sure that we're keeping tabs, what we call early detection, rapid response of any invasive plants that are in this overall area. Then, of course, what an amazing native planting opportunity, as I mentioned, with the structural diversity and species diversity. And I don't want to keep going after this, but it is not just a paddock. This is a paddock that I would see as a lawn. So we're taking something that's functioning as a lawn, the minimal ecological value, going towards the maximum ecological value on a lot of metrics. And then lastly, or the last two things I wanted to just speak to briefly, is that connection to an existing replication that needs that uplift and that care. So we're kind of thinking of how these all can work together historically and into the future. And then again, as was articulated by Sean and Mike, one thing I definitely picked up with being brought into this recently is that Rusty Marsh Farm is deeply committed to stewardship, and that's exactly what Wilkinson is deeply committed to. So we see that this is an amazing opportunity for long-term stewardship, monitoring as well, which was mentioned. We are focused on monitoring. That's something we'd absolutely welcome, and something that's going to be carefully maintained into the future. So I really appreciate the opportunity that I could just at least paint this as a conceptual level, because it's something we'd be excited to take part in. And, you know, this is just very diagrammatically, right, from a landscape ecology study. This is the kind of connections we're looking at in big picture at the early stage of thinking. So with that, I'm happy to take questions, and I'm sure Sean and Mike are as well. I appreciate your patience with our presentations.
Yes, so really in summary, we're just looking for an opportunity to maybe do something a little bit less prescriptive than a full restoration in the interest of doing something, I think, more impactful and something that yields a lot more benefit.
Thank you. Thank you, Ian and Sean. Bill has a question. Bill?
Yeah, I'd like to start by acknowledging the wisdom of John Abadili. He said, we have to listen to the people of what have they got. And I'm amazed at what they have. So good call on that, John. I think that the plan that you have is a good one with and I would add one thing, and that is that the area that the 3 or 4 willow trees that we've been arguing about the cause of this whole thing, I would be inclined to try to create a natural plantings and just let it go wild with demarcations. In other words, you've got this manicured lawn, as I think Ed literally used those words, and create that 50 or even 70-foot buffer, what have you. Just let it go wild and not sweat it over there, and that will create the vegetated buffer that creates the filter. The whole point of protecting buffers is because you want to have the filter, and you guys probably get all that. So I think if you did that, and then you have this, the whole idea of the paddock connection is, I think, wonderful. So
I can say there would be zero resistance to that suggestion. Our principal motivation is to maintain the trees.
Yeah. Thank you, Bill. John?
Thank you, Bill, for your comment. I very strongly agree with what Bill just said. I was going to go back to that, where the 3 trees are, and say, okay, you can put in some plantings under there and let's let it grow. And but I think the plan on a conceptual basis is quite good. I think that the commission and the staff obviously my position would be to allow this to go forward on that basis, subject to a follow-up meeting, obviously, with the detailed plans for review. That's where I would come from. Again, maybe Councilor Ford would agree with this, but just to blindly say you have to restore it because that's what we've kind of always done, blah, 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 is a little bit of kind of a punitive action almost. But our role is to enhance environment where we can, and where an applicant is willing to put in the money, the effort, et cetera, with very professional people to do a project that enhances the environment. I think as a commission, we really do need to look at that plan. So secondly, Sean, compliment you and Councilor Ford that you came forward with this violation. So thank you for doing that. Not everybody in our town would do the same. But one more comment. I would love to hear from Ed Hoops, because he lives in this day in and day out.
Thank you. Ed, do you want to say anything, Ed or Darcy?
I would.
Well, go ahead, Darcy. You beat me, so go ahead.
Well, I'm gonna, number one, is this a different parcel number than what was in the enforcement order?
I think it's all. I think that's all part of the same parcel.
Okay. Well, I would just have some concern because, I don't know. I was always brought up in discussing these things with Rob Gatewood, who was my prior supervisor. The concern is you are having to, when you say reclamation, you're actually creating a wetland, and you're having to get the proper elevations for that resource area. You have Mother Nature doing it one way, and then you're having somebody come in and actually having to dig out and create a wetland. I remember when I was the one to review the one next to the road. We had to have stamped, like we wanted engineering plans to understand that they were getting the right elevation to create a wetland there. I'm not saying, I just have concern that that's a lot of work under an enforcement order. And I don't know. I'm not sold on this. I think that they should go and restore the wetland at the location where this happened. I'm just concerned about you having this all come under an enforcement order, and you're not having any order of conditions, and there's no hearing where any other people are. I mean, maybe there isn't any abutters, but that's just my 2 cents.
Thank you, Darcy. Ed?
Yeah, I would agree with that. I mean, I think when you start talking about replication sounds great, and everybody wishes it works, but it doesn't always. In fact, it frequently fails. It's great for 3 to 5 years, and then after that, it just doesn't continue, and that's a fact. I mean, I was brought up under the likes of Kirk Griffin and Joe Larson at the University of Massachusetts. They are 2 of the finest wetland science minds in the entire country. And again, replication is one of those things that it sounds great. I just don't know that it always works. In fact, I know that it frequently does not work. And so if that's the case, then you're really going to go that route, then I would say you're going to have to do a much larger and longer monitoring plan. I think that starts going back into the idea of what Darcy was alluding to. Is like to do this under an enforcement order, I think is very difficult to do a full replication with just an enforcement order response plan. I think you definitely need to have a serious, solid group of orders of conditions that you can assign to the project. But my other concern is that paddock, and again, I would love for you to sit there and do this and it all make me look foolish and it all worked great, and I would love for that to happen. But my concern is that paddock has been around for 15 years at least that I know of, that I can remember. And so my concern is that you're going to have to do a lot more manipulation in order for you to get wetland soils and back to the point where that's what you were talking about. Again, that reflects back to the idea of the notice of intent and order of conditions rather than having an enforcement order response plan. So that's my big concern. I don't disagree. I do like the idea of removing the lawn on the impacted area. I just think it makes more sense to restore that area because you've only had it impacted for what, eight or 9 months maybe. And so I think it's much easier to recover that than it is to go back and look at something like the paddock. Not that those ideas are not good ideas. It's just I don't think you should put all of your eggs in that replication basket, and certainly not without having to have some sort of a notice of intent or some other type of permit process. That's my 2 cents.
Thank you, Ed. Angela, I saw your hand was up and then you're down. So
Yeah, I just was going to say I'm inclined to vote with the staff. When Ed said this was significant and serious, I would like to see this enforcement order be done and restored. All the other ideas and plans are wonderful and great, but I really think we need to address the issue that right now is out of compliance. Thank you.
Thank you. Bill?
Maybe I'm missing something. Ed and Darcy are concerned about replication, the feasibility, the long-term, efficacy of that. And my impression is that there was a lot of restoring the paddock to become sort of an upland wildlife connection. And over at the original problem area with the willows, I suggested let's have a natural vegetated buffer so that we create the filter. And maybe I'm missing something, but I did not think that the proposal, and I should probably be asking the applicant, I didn't think you guys were actually going to be doing the digging out and replication of the wetland for which Darcy is concerned and whatnot. Period. Then the other concept is, I don't know in my 3.5 years on the commission that we've had somebody come in and just, well, having a history of, if you will, illegally taking out wetland. And then we have to restore the wetland. And that's really unusual. And for us to simply go, we don't have to replicate it. I mean, that's a big deal if we just say we don't have to replicate it. And yet I think that for me, in some, having all of that filtering area, protecting the wetland, and then the paddock, and then this spillway work that was sort of in the middle of the property, it just seemed like a package that would make up for the hassle and technical issues related to this small area of wetland that got filled in and now has to be quote unquote replicated. So I guess I have one question. Was there a plan on the part of the applicant to be doing replication of wetland?
Yes, so let's be real clear. We two terms, restoration in our mind means restoring the originally filled wetland to its line and grade. Replication means doing a similar improvement elsewhere in exchange for the restoration. So what we're proposing is recognizing that a restoration would necessarily involve taking out 4 absolutely thriving massive willow trees, would involve taking out the sculpture that was placed there under an approved amended order of conditions. You know, that there's a better option for everyone, which is we can certainly look at doing a restoration in part of what was the filled wetland. There's absolutely areas that we can probably restore that won't impact the trees, which we'd include as part of our work. We'd also do the recommendations that you and John made about sort of naturalizing the area instead of leaving it lawn. So there would be an in-place improvement.
But there is a creation of wetland. You're proposing the creation of the wetland in the paddock area?
Yes, without question.
The paddock area is being dug out and there's wetland being created there.
Yeah, so first thing we'd have to do is we'd have to do some test pits to identify the hydrology in the area and where the groundwater table is. To Darcy and Ed's concern, yes, a lot of these replications fail in large part because they're not done well, they're not well thought, they're just sort of done in an arithmetic exercise. I'd say that this applicant or this landowner deserves a little bit of discretion. He's got a really good team of people. Funding is not an issue. Stewardship's not an issue. Maintenance not an issue. Doing things the right way and doing things in a very mature way is sort of his methodology. So I would say if there is anybody that deserves some discretion on this, it would be this particular landowner. Not to mention, I mean, there was a replication done on his property, on land that he donated for that cause without any cost to the town. So, there's a lot of things on the side of proving that if there was a replication that's going to take, this will be the one that does.
So if you're going to have a restoration, you're going to be trying to create wetland. I mean, it just seems like you have 4 willow trees. I mean, so what with the willow trees? Why not just do it there? It was a wetland before, and it's connected to a wetland. Why try to create a new wetland in a totally different place? I mean, why not just, if you're proposing to make a wetland, why not just make it where you had one? I mean, you got to dig down, you have to take the earth out, and you have to, deal with the water table, blah, blah. Why not? I don't understand why you wouldn't just do it where the willow trees are. The willow trees don't seem like a good enough excuse to me. I mean, just.
I probably disagree on that, because what we're offering instead is replication in an area that has no trees. So what we'd be doing is taking out an area that's effectively lawn to start, rather than restoring an area that is well wooded at this point in time. And in our mind, it is a substantial difference between the two. Right? If you're out there during the spring when these trees are in bloom, and it's just amazing how many birds are in those trees, you have a little bit of anxiety and a little bit of misgiving about sort of taking them out. And I don't think they're transplants. So my guess is that they probably wouldn't survive another move, given that it's only been a year or so since they've been in. So we're trying to look this in a qualitative sense, and looking at it with the full resources that we have that frankly most don't. We have land well suited for replication. We have resources that can be brought to bear on it to make it really successful. There's some uniquenesses about the areas that we're talking about as far as wildlife corridors. I just think would be a shame for us not to try very hard to do something better if we could.
So,
Thank you, Sean.
Mr. Chairman, Mike Ford.
Go ahead, Mike.
I think we're hearing the commission. I have a suggestion. If rather than vote on this today, you would continue it, give us an opportunity to bring in a more fleshed out plan. What I'm hearing from the commission is they want to see some restoration where the filling was as well. And maybe we can incorporate that. Not all of it, but we can incorporate that into the plan and bring it back before you and present it in detail. We'll have an on-site. My experience is procedurally, and I hear Darcy about, no public hearings and no notice of intent. Within an enforcement order, you can order somebody to file a notice of intent, and you can tie that order of conditions right into the enforcement order, so that it's not one of these things where you don't have to do it or you do it. You make it very clear within the language of the enforcement order that you've got to file an NOI, you've got to get an OOC, and in fact, that's all part of the enforcement order, for which if you don't do it, it's a violation. So I think both procedurally and allow us some time to develop the plan. If we could have the time to do that, I'd ask you to just give us that chance rather than simply voting on this today.
Can I respond to that? The thing about tying a notice of intent into it, it is recommended by MACC that you do not tie a notice of intent into an enforcement order. We actually had somebody who turned around and appealed their own order of conditions. So that is not the best way to do it. And number two, I wouldn't save the reasoning for the willow trees. They're not even on our planting list, so I would not use that as a reasoning either.
Thank you, Darcy. Let me go to John and Louise. John?
Thank you. It's interesting, Darcy, what you said about not tying in an NOI into an enforcement order. I thought we've done that before, but I can't specifically recall exactly where. But if that's not a procedural way to go, and I that's exactly what I was going to suggest. What Mike suggested is that you amend the enforcement order to allow them sufficient amount of time to either restore or submit an NOI along these conditions, and that will have to be approved. I don't understand legally why that is not a procedurally acceptable way to go.
It's not for the plant. When you're dealing with a cutting violation or a planting violation, it's not the way to go. If it was something that the commission, we do it when there's like somebody has a dock that has never been permitted. We give the option of, okay, go ahead and do a notice of intent, but not for all the years. And I've been here a long time. We do not tie what the planting, an enforcement order with a planting component, and tell them to file a notice of intent.
Huh. Yeah. Interesting. Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, the doc one you bring up was pretty common that we do that. But I'm just sitting here struggling because you know, you do have a unique property here with a unique homeowner, with unique financial resources, a unique history as that farmland has been developed and what he's done with it from an environmental point of view. And with Bill's suggestion, which I strongly agree with, which is also some restoration within the restored area there, some of the plantings that are going natural, et cetera, et cetera. It just seems to me we are sitting here on the edge of an opportunity to make some real environmental progress. And I'm struggling with how can we do that? To walk away from this and simply say restore and walk away from an opportunity to make substantial progress from an environmental point of view, from an animal point of view, from a, you know, and I respect it saying that, well, you know, replication doesn't always work, but here we've really got some very involved professionals that we rely on. We've got a financial owner that can afford this. We can easily require, you know, longer than a 5-year monitoring plan or whatever. I just hate to walk away from this. And I'm struggling. Maybe procedurally, Darcy or somebody, we can come up with a way to have a win-win.
Thank you, John. As I'm sitting here and thinking about this stuff, and I can see Pete is joining us too, and his hand is raised, and I also saw Louis' hand was up. Let's give Pete a chance and then go to Louis, and then I want to make my comment.
Okay, thank you. Now, I've only recently come. It's not easy for me to do at 3 o'clock from home because, as you know, I got to come in from school and I had a short period of time necessary to be at school. But I have caught Commissioner Abadili's comments. I've caught the applicant's agents and his lawyer talking about the possibility of a win-win. Abo, you said this. If there is a guarantee of both a partial restoration around the willow areas and then taking essentially lawn, which has really almost no environment or almost anything, is there a possibility for a win-win here? That's sort of my very quick response in here, and I'm not going to be able to vote on this unless it gets extended, and I'm mulling in. But thank you for listening.
Thank you, Pete. Louise?
Well, my question was about the viability of the willow trees in a restored, wetland. You know, would they survive anyway? But I'll just wait until we see what the proposal is from the applicant before getting into that.
Thank you, Louise.
Your comments?
So as you guys are talking about it, I am thinking about they should restore part of that area. I'm not too concerning about the willow tree in that area, but I'm concerning in terms of the replica of the wetland. It would be difficult and challenge too, because there's so many factors that would make that replications work, and that is not it's not a guarantee thing, but it's going to be a hard work from the Wilkinson group. So I'm leaning toward, let the applicants take some time, not applicant, but the homeowner to develop that plan and then table it for next month so that we have a better understanding of what is being proposed and whether that would improve the area or not.
With that,
John.
With that, if we went along with that suggestion, and I would agree with it, but at the same time, I would like if Darcy and Ed could give us some thoughts and help and procedurally the issues they raise from a procedural point of view, Darcy, and how we could, if we went along with it, how we could structure it procedurally. Thank you. Use that term. Thank you.
Yeah. I think we talk enough on this one. So let me try to, let's table this for next month, Michael Ford, and let your team go and develop what is a possible discussion that we talk about for replications and restoring a part of the woodland area for the next hearing. And then we can decide what we want to do with this. Is that okay?
That's okay. What date would that be? And I just need to check with Ian and Sean to make sure they're comfortable that the next meeting would give them enough time to really do a good job to make sure that you've got everything you need to make that decision.
November 5th is the next afternoon hearing.
November the 5th.
Sean and Ian, is that sufficient time, or is that?
It will be tight, but we'll do everything within our power to put some more detail and more flesh on the bone.
Yeah, we've been listening carefully, and I do think there's an opportunity for looking at both areas and finding that win-win.
Well, you can go and take a look at your schedule, whether the November the 5th would work for you or not. If not, the following one would be the December the 3rd. So
yeah, I'm actually in Boston on the 5th. December 3rd would be better for me, Sean and Ian.
Yeah, I think it would give us the opportunity to really do a much better job than come back with something a lot more well thought.
If the commission would provide us that time period, we'd be grateful for that.
I don't think Ed's available that week.
Ed is not.
Oh yeah, I'm out on December 3rd. Thank you, Darcy.
Yeah, I'm not doing this one without you. No way.
You can take it all. I'm sorry, but I'm going to be in the Everglades at that point, so I don't think I'll be able to get a good signal out. Nor do I think my wife would approve of me having a meeting like that. But
is there
a lot of pythons in the Everglades, Ed? Be careful.
Yeah.
A lot of snakes.
Ed, is there a meeting in December that works for you?
I mean, it's up to the commission and the chair as to whether or not I can come in on any of the other meetings. It was just the December 3rd. I'm going to be obviously out of the state. So.
And I might not be there on December 10th.
9th or 10th, yeah.
Is late November not an option because of Thanksgiving?
Well, the only other one I have is November 26th.
Is that not an option, or?
No, that's an option. Even though it's not an afternoon hearing, but we can still have this if the timing is right for our staff, for Ed, Darcy.
Well, if that's okay with them, that'd probably be better for us than the 5th.
That works for me.
That works for you? How about Darcy?
Mm-hmm.
Yep, it works.
Okay. Let's table this to November the 26th.
And Tom, quick question here.
Yep.
For me to be a voting participant, do I have to mullen in on this being an enforcement order? How do I proceed to be part of this?
I don't think you have to be mulling in because this is enforcement order.
Exactly. That's what I would have thought.
Yeah.
You just need to review the tape and so you understand what's going on.
Got it.
I was going to say, Tom, I'd recommended Peter that he say at the beginning of him that he did go back and review the documents submitted in the recorded tape. Pete, that would just be a better thing to do if I could suggest that.
Yeah.
And it's likely that we'll have new documentation that will be more applicable for the 26th of November meeting.
Right.
Yes.
Cool. Okay, thank you.
One of the things that I would like to request, though, if your team, Sean and Mike, if your team can provide some kind of a plan before the 26th, let's say a week before that, so that we have time to kind of digesting it.
Absolutely. I think that's what we were thinking about in terms of not doing the 5th. So you could have something ahead of time, at least a week before the 26th.
Okay.
Okay, and Mr. Chairman, one other thing, could I just ask Sean and Ian if you could include any of the things that any of the graphics or anything that you showed, could you send a copy of that in to me, please, so I can put that into the record?
Yep. Absolutely. Those are the graphics today, guys, so they need to. Mr. Chair, do you need to take a vote on the table, or does the chair simply do that administratively?
I can do the vote. Could I have a motions to table this to November the 26th and
So moved.
requiring the plans to submit it 1 week before that?
So moved.
Second,
Roll call. Angela?
You're muted.
Angela, mute.
You're muted.
Well,
You got to unmute.
it's not there. Let me do this. Bill? I'll do the roll call. Bill?
Aye.
Louise?
aye.
John?
Aye.
Tom? Aye. Angela? Pete?
Shake your head, Angela.
He's gone.
Pete?
So I'm going to abstain at this point until I can see everything.
Okay. Okay.
And you got Louise, right?
Yeah, Louise is there.
Hear me now?
Yep.
I refreshed it. I didn't have the mute on and still you couldn't hear me. Aye, we'll table it to the 26th. Thank you. Sorry about
Okay.
that.
Thank you. No problem.
Thank you for your
Thank you.
time today, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah.
Thanks, everybody.
So
Thank you.
we have one warning letter. Matthew B. Wake, 396 Hackenneck Road, Centerville, map 233, parcel 031. Failure to adhere to a plan of record ADM 24036 at
Pretty straightforward. It's just they built a shed not according to the location on the plan of record, so they just need to move it. They've got until the end of the month to do so.
So I
You just need to note it.
that would be fine, right?
Right.
And then the second item, non-criminal ticket, you mentioned it. This is Marcelo Pina dos Santos, 700 Old Farmers Road, Marston's Mill, for alteration of the resource area, cutting vegetation and placing field for $300. So I read that into the record. We have 2 RDA tonight.
Tom?
Yes.
Excuse me, can we take a 5-minute break before going on to the RDAs, or you're not willing to do that?
No, that's fine.
Thank you. 5-minute break.
Stone, can we have a 5-minute break?
Sounds good.
Thank you.
Just real quick, before you Conservation Commission members hop off, I have another engagement at 6 p.m. with the Barnstable Municipal Water Board.
Yeah.
I'm the last NOI application today, and I may be looking for a continuance, depending on how long this ends up running, since I have to get down to Town Hall for 6 p.m.
Okay.
Tom, can we do this out of order?
Yeah, you can do it out of order.
Yeah. Well, the other thing too, if he has to continue, because we're waiting for the SC3 number too.
Oh,
so we cannot really close it. So you might as well just continue to a new date.
Yeah.
Okay. I think that would work fine for me. I'm sorry for interrupting there at the end. I just want to make sure I'm valuing everybody's time correctly.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Oh, what?
You have to come up with a date, right? For the continuance?
Yeah. No, he left, but.
No, I'm still here.
He's there.
What
Yeah,
date you
no,
want
I
to
figured I'd
continue?
hop back on and stay with you guys at least until you had come back from your break. I just wanted to get that on there before we resumed.
Okay, we'll talk in 5 minutes.
Perfect. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Darcy, who was representing the town of Barnstable? Is that, what is it? Matt?
Yeah, that was Matt.
So let's take it out of order and do the math first.
Do the math.
I mean, do the NOI first. Town of Barnstable, DBW, engineering divisions, removal and replacement in kind of the existing damaged raised boardwalk at Calmus Beach Park, 670 Ocean Street, Hyannis, as shown on the assessors map 324, parcel 041. Matt?
Good afternoon. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Perfect. Chairman Lee, I know that you had mentioned beforehand that my application was missing a number on it and that I was going to need continuation anyways. Is that still the case? Just curious.
Well, you can open it and then continue, but it's up to you. If you're running out of time, you can just continue because we're waiting for the SC3 number and the comment from NHESP.
Darcy, as long as there's no real concerns from your side of things, I think that might make sense just to continue it and allow everything to proceed in typical order. And then once we have that SE number, I'd be happy to come back and present to you guys as well.
Yeah, that works. You just have to send in a, well, actually, you don't need the WC form because you are waiting actually for the DEP number and the NHESP comments. You might want to check in with them. So yes, this makes sense to continue it.
Perfect. And then just for my own knowledge, will I need to do anything as far as remailing of abutter notification letters?
No, stating it on the record as we're doing right now takes care of that.
Perfect. Then in that case, I do appreciate you guys' time and taking a second to speak with me on this. But if I could withdraw my application from today and just continue to a meeting at a later date, I'd appreciate it.
You don't want to withdraw. You just want to say.
I misspoke there. Up on the 2 hour and 15-minute mark here. My brain's a little mush. No, not withdrawing, just continuing.
You are
please.
continuing these applications to a future date. So we are going to talk about the future date. It's October the 29th. Good for you.
October the 29th. I think that should work for me. That would be the 6 p.m. meeting?
Yes.
Okay, perfect.
6:30.
I'll be excited for that night then.
Happy Halloween.
Yeah, exactly. Nothing spooky about conservation, though.
Could I have a motion to continue this applications to October the 29th?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Abadili.
Aye.
Foster.
Aye.
Hearn.
Aye.
Lee.
Aye.
Sampu.
Aye.
And Tagney, aye. That's unanimous. Continuance to 10/29.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for your time today.
No problem. Thank you.
Have a good one. Bye.
Yep. We have two RDH this afternoon. The first one is Paul M. Stephanie Baxter to replace existing stairway to pier at 87 Main Street, Austria, as shown on the assessors map 185 parcel 062. John?
Good afternoon, John O'Day from Sullivan Engineering Consulting, representing the Bastas. I'll pull up the plan that we submitted with this RDA for you all. We have a 2-acre parcel on Main Street on the Centerville River, long existing house. There is an existing pier. There's a stairway that was permitted down to it at the time of the original pier construction, has an SE number. We are seeking to replace that stairway that leads down to the pier. And it will be replaced within its existing footprint and in kind. An elevated stairway, gave the specific dimensions, what's there in a little profile down below, because staff had requested an engineered plan for stair replacements. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, John. Any questions for John? Louise?
I don't have a problem with your application, but when I was walking to the site on the property, I noticed that the downspouts from a large part of the house are actually emptying out on the bank, not onto the bank, but within the bank, so that all the drainage is running down the bank below where those downspouts empty. So that probably ought to be addressed separately. I don't think that should be that way.
Thank you, Luis.
Follow what I'm saying?
I follow what you're saying. I think that on the garage and everything, which is more recent, those were addressed. I think that house is like 120.
No, it's not there. It's on the west side of the structure of the main
house.
For that, yeah.
Unless they were pre-existing, I think, John, right?
I think that house, I think that acknowledging the concern to the applicant so that they may want to address it, but I don't think it's a violation.
No, I don't know that it's a question of wanting. I don't think we well, I may be wrong. Darcy can correct me, but I don't think that we allow drainage from the house to go down over the side of the bank.
If I could.
It's not, as John said, it can be noted. We can make a decision whether we want to do some type of enforcement, but it's not part of this RDA application.
I agree. What I said was that we may want to follow up with it separately, but I don't think it's necessarily up to the applicant to decide.
Except, Louise, if it was a pre-existing condition, then there is no violation.
That's true, but we need to follow up to find out, right?
Yep.
If we care about it.
Okay. Any other questions from the commissioner? Channel 18, any public comment on this? Channel 18. Stone, any comment on this? Any public comment on this, Stone?
Still on break.
Hearing none. Let's close that. And could I have a motion to approve this as a negative determination?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Abadili.
Aye.
Foster.
Aye.
Hearn.
Aye.
Lee.
Aye.
Sampu.
Aye.
And Tagney, aye. That's unanimous.
Thank you. The second RDA is Matthew and Stacy Owens to modify and expand existing patio and proposed stepping stones at 132 Bayshore Road, Hyannis, as shown on the Assessors Map 325, parcel 080. John?
Yes, good afternoon. John O'Day again from Sullivan Engineering Consulting, bringing up the plan for you all. Property at 132 Bay Shore in Hyannis, abutting Hyannis Harbor. We have an existing dwelling. There's an existing patio in the rear, and we're just looking to do some work on and around that patio. It is expanding a little bit towards the water and towards the side, but staying outside of the 50-foot buffer. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
John, in one of the email after this drawing, we had an agenda meeting, and then we asking to show the existing patio area. I think in one of the email is kind of showing that.
I did. I don't know that I have that email in front of me, but I think I can see the line of the existing. Got it drawn straight with this clicker, but there's a sort of a dash line that's hidden underneath there that shows where the existing was.
Thank you. I just want to show the existing versus the proposed. Luis?
let's see, this is an RDA, so mitigation is not something that we talk about, consider here. But you do not have an undisturbed 50-foot buffer here. So the fact that you are outside of the 50, the line for the 50 is great, except that you're extending your footprint in the 50 to 100. And so ordinarily you would owe us some mitigation. Now you're doing plantings in the 50, so to speak. So you're doing some sort of restoration, but there's no way for us to know whether, how this all works out. But if you were applying as an NOI, which maybe you should be, you would owe us some mitigation, I believe. Because you don't have an undisturbed.
I understand, and I agree with what you're saying. We kind of went through the commission's filing guidelines to see what sort of application would be appropriate for this.
Right.
And it does sort of specifically have a category about patios or decks outside of the 50 foot. So that's what led us towards the RDA.
I don't understand.
Okay.
How did that?
I think John is referring to the guideline on the NOI and RDA guidelines, and there is a square footage of the increase in the patio area.
Yeah, but that doesn't have anything to do. I mean, that's a guideline that was set without the staff person who's applying it knowing whether or not the buffer, 50-foot buffer, was undisturbed or not.
Louise, that's based on a certain size project, a certain square footage, and a certain distance away from wetlands. And this is a guideline that we've been using for many, many years to try to assist the clients in understanding which would be the best application. And this one isn't any different than the rest of the patio expansions that come in out, between the 50 and the 100. We're not requiring any mitigation.
Well, all right. It seems that may historically be the case, and if so, okay. It just seems to me that it is not consistent. This case is not consistent with our regulations, and but if this is consistent with everything we've been doing all these years, then fine.
Thanks, Louise. Bill?
I completely agree with everything that Louise was saying. I mean, I don't understand why there isn't mitigation. I don't know why this is an RDA. I support what Louise was getting at. Thank you.
I just want to reiterate that stuff is like there is a guideline for filing the LDA and the NOI, and there is a certain amount of square footage of the expansions within that guideline to suggest whether they do file LDA or NOI, and then apparently the area that is expanded is within that footprint. I mean, within the numbers of the guidelines. So that's why they file the LDA. So,
I would just say that those guidelines are something that I think has been in place for 15 years or so. So this isn't anything new, and I think that if
I understand about the guidelines, but it just it is not consistent with our regulations. That's all.
Pete?
I'm going to concur with Louise. And I understand that in times past, perhaps, again, but these are guidelines, and we look at each project in front of us on an individual basis. And it would have been wonderful, a win-win for all, if we got a better buffer, a little bit more of a buffer to Hyannis Harbor. It is a harbor that is probably our worst water quality around. And by having a bigger buffer, at least we would likely lessen the input from this lot. So again, I completely understand, but I'm in complete agreement with Louise on this, and then also Bill. Thank you.
I will say, though, that there are plantings being offered, right, John?
I'm trying to scroll over on my other screen here to be able to pull up the aerial, and I'm just trying to make sure I've got the right property.
It's up there before.
Okay, let me go back to my sharing. I'll bring that up. So,
and giving the public this information, John, yes, that actually would be helpful in allowing the public to understand our position here as well. Thank you.
Thanks, Pete.
So hopefully you can see the aerial of the site. There is a small buffer along the seawall, nothing really in either corner or either side. And so part of their plan for this backyard did include, doing some native plantings and enhancing of that buffer all the way around because they want to, not because of, trying to meet any specific mitigation requirements, but they certainly have interests in creating, pollinator gardens where we had some of these perennial gardens kind of working their way into the lawn, and also kind of, creating some bigger shrubbery around that. So there is plans. I think that the plan does include, work that is in line with what you're suggesting there. If we just haven't looked at it as being mitigation for a project of this type.
John, if you have to put a square footage, is it easy to estimate how much square footage you have in there compared to what you increase in terms of the patio?
I figured it's rough. I think that the threshold for decks is 400 square feet. I'm not even sure if there is a threshold for patios, but we had looked at that. And I think we're around 350 square.
Well, the other thing is, not to be a pain in the neck, but I know I am. Within the 50-foot buffer, you've got a couple of perennial gardens. If those were native plants, I would feel differently, but it's perennial stuff.
Okay.
So that adds to the square footage that John just, it's within the 50, so.
So how much square footage you're increasing?
I said that the patio is getting about 350 square feet bigger.
And so that's in the 50 to 100, and then there's perennial gardens, which are 0 to 50.
Which are removing sod and putting in perennial gardens. So I don't think that would be anything that would impact mitigation numbers if there was any. And if those were native perennials, it would almost
that would be good.
Count as mitigation if it was.
Right.
Native perennials. So you could look at it that way.
Yes. And I do think that is the intent, and that the landscapers are certainly mainstay is well aware of, coastal environments and knowing, what can actually survive in these areas. So I think that the intent is for these to be native gardens.
Okay, thanks, John. Angela?
Yeah, just my 2 cents is I agree with the other commissioners. I had questions on this with the word of expanding it, and I understand the answer that Darcy gave and the regulations, but then I never can understand why we're even putting mitigation in an RDA if it can't be enforced. So that's why I don't understand why this wasn't an NOI. I'm still very confused on this, but I'm the newbie, so I just want to make sure. I had the same questions as the other commissioners, and I still do, but I just don't feel this is clear. That's all. Thank you.
In my opinion, those guidelines were enacted however many years ago to help guide applicants on, and the commission all sat down and said, there's certain projects that just don't raise to the level of having an impact in needing a notice of intent and requiring mitigation.
But then I don't understand, John, then why do you put it on the map for me to see? If they're just doing it out of the goodness of their heart, it seems like they did all the work as if it was an NOI. That's where I'm confused on my end. I'm not accusing.
They're landscaping the backyard how they want it to be landscaped. And it's just so happens that coincides with how the commission wants it, which is great. But
sometimes we see some of the application has a little bit more information than they necessary for the applications.
So the beautification on this RDA looks like mitigation on an NOI and confused me.
Yeah.
But I understand what you're saying. Thank you.
Yeah. Any other question from the commissioner?
Well, these are guidelines, as someone said, and they're not cast in concrete in terms of what's going to happen when people actually get to the site. These guidelines are given by people who have never been to the site. So, it can't be expected to be 100% accurate in terms of what needs to be considered here. In fact, people can make an application without having a guideline. So just that, I am confused, obviously.
I think that the commission, when they established the guidelines, took into account that some of the sites would be disturbed, and they still thought that there's certain scales of projects, certain types and scales and distances away from the wetlands that weren't going to have an environmental impact.
Well, certainly distances from the wetlands. You're right about that.
Well, let me say this, Darcy. If I'm set wrong, let me know. Yes, we have this guideline to guide the applicants and the staff to establish whether this project would be filed or should be filed under the RDA or the NOI. The commissioner during the hearing can also weigh in on the conditions of the plan and determine whether it should be an NOI instead of RDA. I think it happened a couple of times, if I remember right, that it wasn't filed as an RDA and then we changed to an NOI. I think it happened several times, if I remember right. Darcy, am I right or not?
Yes, I was the one that came up with the guidelines way over 15 years ago.
Right.
We needed, with the amount of people coming in and asking staff what they should be filing, we made a decision that projects that are adding a little bit or like less than the 400 square feet setback and everything, not on a steep slope, the impact is much smaller than something where we would be determining it needs a notice of intent and stamped engineering plans. And just think of everybody that you would end up telling now for the smaller scale projects, they need to go get stamped engineering plans. We were trying to find an even ground, but there is a statement at the top of the guidelines that state that it's site specific. But we've never had a problem with them before. It's just.
Well, you have, because there have been times where said.
I think it happened a couple of times, if I remember right.
Right, the commission goes out and sees it and then decides it needs to be a notice of intent. You have every option to do that. But that is what the guidelines are for, because we have so many consultants and applicants that come in and have a project, and I wanted something that the staff, one staff member wasn't saying they need a notice of intent and one saying, oh, I think it could be an RDA, because with the three of us, it's not just one person meeting all of these people's in question. So we had to kind of come up with a guideline,
right?
What we didn't think were the big impacts. That's what we use the guideline for. If you don't want us to be using the guideline, then you just got to let us know. But with the amount of people that come in, it is a good idea for staff to use the guidelines. If you go out there and you don't think it should come in as an RDA, then they give them a positive determination.
Right.
Or have them withdraw it. But this is now, if you say you don't accept it, they can't revise the plan under the RDA. So.
Thanks, Darcy. John?
Yeah, I think we all should remember what an RDA negative determination is. Under the law, it simply says that yes, while we technically have jurisdiction, we believe that the project is so de minimis from a negative environmental impact, that we are declining jurisdiction. That's what a negative determination on an RDA says. So in order to make that practical from an applicant's point of view and a staff point of view, those guidelines were established. Having said that, we as a commission could easily say, we think this will have a significant negative impact on the environment, and therefore it will issue a positive determination. That's the criteria. So if, Louise, you feel that this project would have a significant negative environmental impact, then vote for a positive determination, and that would force it into an NOI if they wanted to proceed.
Right. Thanks, John. Bill?
Yeah, I'd like to throw in my 2 cents. I became aware of these guidelines maybe 6 or 9 months ago. I think Angela was unaware of them at the time, and I had never heard of them, and I got a copy of them, and I don't have them in front of me. But there's, I don't know what, 25, 35, are there 50 different items that are covered on what is and is not an RDA versus an NOI. And I remember that I thought the only concern I ever had, and I had brought it up, which is why I ended up learning about it 6 to 9 months ago, was this business of no mitigation in the 50 to 100. And I think that the guidelines are a good thing. I think you should continue to use them. But this one item, which is the no mitigation required, it really does come down to, is there an impact or not? And here we have a situation where there's virtually, a completely artificial 0 to 50. There's no 0 to 50 here, natural vegetation, filtering, et cetera, that we like to see. And so, and here we have no potential for, to actually look, go back and enforce it. Well, they could, what I'm saying is that the landowner could completely remove all those plants and we would have absolutely no leverage. Whereas when there's mitigation, we would say, well, you're going to expand this hardscape, this patio, well, you're going to have that mitigation. So I think that, I guess what I'm saying is that I think that this is the one exception to the guidelines that I have some heartburn over. And if we could somehow have added to that guideline, depending upon the condition of the 0 to 50, it's when you have a completely landscape 0 to 50 that I think it does become an issue, to which, I would be inclined to say, no, this is not I would have a positive determination. I think that's the language.
Yeah, Bill, if I could jump in, I think, because I think what you're saying is very logical, very rational. And it just seems to me that where it comes in as an RDA under the guidelines, that does not in any way prevent the commission from saying, look, on this particular project, there is no buffer zone. And while the expansion may be not significant, it is within the 0 to 50, where you have no buffer zone in an environmentally sensitive area. Therefore, based on this specific filing, I am going to vote for a positive determination. We always retain that right. So the analysis you just made, then absolutely, if you believe that applies in this particular application, God bless you, vote for a positive determination. I mean, that would be a very rational thing.
Thank you.
If I could just respond to a little bit of that, I think that the one thing that Commissioner Abadili said was that, to qualify for the RDA, does the project have an impact on the resource? It's not, does the existing site, does the land that's been there for 100 years, does the fact that there's not a buffer, does that have an impact on the resource? It's, does the project have an impact? And so does a patio in the level area of lawn outside the 50 feet, does that have an impact on the stability of the seawall? I mean, that's the resource that we're talking about. That's my understanding of it. It doesn't mean that you can't vote in any direction you want, and it doesn't, not disagreeing that these are guidelines and you're not affixed to them. But I think that that's the question is, does the patio have an impact on the coast, on the stability of the seawall?
John, I'd agree with that. Does this particular request, does this particular request have a negative impact on the environment such that the commission feels that it would have to be conditioned from an environmental point of view so it does not have a negative impact? For example, mitigation. So that's the sole, in my opinion, the sole question that each commissioner should say is, does this requested change have the potential to have a significant negative impact, not delete the word significant, to have a negative impact on the environment in this property? That's the question I think we as each commissioner have to answer in voting either negative or positive determination. If it's a positive determination, it forces the owner into an NOI, which is obviously far more expensive, far more complex, et cetera, et cetera. But so be it.
My only other comment that I would add just before this gets moved on is, again, on the other screen, I'm kind of doing some areas, and these are rough, and I'm tracing over the landscaper's plan here. But, those native planting beds and native perennial gardens, and not even including the stuff along the house and along the patio, but just kind of these borders, I think that's almost 4 times the area of the 350 square feet of patio. So had it been an NOI, it probably would have qualified too, but I just don't see how the patio in a level area of lawn outside the 50 foot has an impact on the seawall.
Thank you, John. Channel 18, any public comment on this?
Seeing none.
None. Let me try this. Right now, we are being asked to look at whether there is any environmental impact from the increase in the patio area for this project site. So the question would be, if it is a negative determination, then would be no, and then the positive determination is yes. So let me try this. Could I have a motion to approve this as a negative determination?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Abadili.
I'm going to vote aye as a negative determination because I think as I view this project as a whole, with the documents presented, I think it would not have a negative impact on the environment. So I will vote aye.
Foster.
No.
Hearn.
I am going to vote no, but I have to admit it is really kind of on the border, if you will, but I think it moves to the point where I have to say no.
Lee.
Aye.
Sampu.
In total, I think, yeah, I got my vote. In total, I think with the plants that are being put on this plan, while it's not a necessarily a requirement, I think it is not a negative effect. So I will vote aye for a negative determination.
And I'm going to vote no, and now we have a 3-3 split.
A split is a no.
Split is a no.
Okay.
So, John, this is a no. So if you want this project, you probably have to file under the NOI.
Fair enough. Thank you.
Thank you. We have 4 remaining NOIs. The first one is Thea F. Swartwood, Alexandra B. Swartwood, and Helen Swartwood Kelly. proposed beach access stairs and landing at 241 Ocean Avenue, Hyannis, Ocean View Avenue, Contuit, as shown at Assessors Map 033, Parcel 018. Who is this?
This is still me.
Yeah.
John O'Day from Sullivan Engineering Consulting, representing the applicants. Harley Swartwood is in the meeting room with us. I will bring up the plan.
Hello.
This property is on Ocean View Avenue. It is one of a handful of beach lots that the family had historically owned on the street. It's the last one of that remains within the family. And very simply, they're looking to get a set of stairs down to the beach area so that they can continue to have access. We came up with a design that we think kind of traverses the bank so as to avoid the trees. 4-foot wide elevated stairway, pretty straightforward, I hope. We're here to answer any questions the commission may have on it.
Thank you, John. Questions from the commissioner? Anyone? Pete?
Yeah, so I am noticing a landing on this set of stairs. And before I make any votes on this, I'd like to hear a justification, because often we do not have landings on a staircase over the bank, as it essentially shades any vegetation underneath it. And it's not, to my knowledge, been common practice. So please make a case for it, Mr. O'Day.
So I think that this site is a little bit unique in that we're not attached to a house. So it's not like we can bring our, beach furniture up to the house deck and put it on there. It's a small area. We put it down below the bank, as opposed to kind of one of the properties that they had before had a deck at the top of the bank where they things had been stored. We've really tried to, with the applicants, at their direction, tried to kind of minimize any view of this structure from the street. They're trying to kind of preserve the, natural vistas off of Ocean View Ave. There aren't a lot of them left. So we just tried to create a place and not be on the bank where we're fighting grades. It seemed like a good place to create a little landing area.
So John, along that, would you consider removing the deck that is to the north of these stairs?
We don't own it.
Oh, I see. Yes. Got it.
Yeah, this is a narrow strip.
This is all we have.
Okay.
The landing area on the drawing is 6 by 8. So
that's correct.
John.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, I was kind of bothered by that myself, Peter. So I kind of raised that question. I would have raised the question same as you. And I just want to confirm, because the property lines here are very narrow. There's stairs to the left, stairs to the right of the property line, but they are not owned. Do either of those on the left or the right have the same owner as this property?
No.
Ms. Swatwood is shaking her head no. So no, they're all separate owners.
Yes.
Okay, that makes some sense to me. I assume we would, if proven this, condition it with because there's a lot of vegetation. It's a very, very steep bank, et cetera, et cetera. So I assume we would put the usual conditions about, there is no tree removal, I think, the way you've designed it, right, John?
That's the plan.
Okay, and then any vegetation disturbed along either side would be replanted, correct?
Yes.
Spiffy, thank you.
Thanks, John. Louise?
Well, I had some concerns about the landing too. I mean, usually most often when we approve a landing, it's on a steep bank, but it's part way up so that people have a chance to catch their breath. And this is obviously not that kind of function. It's to sit and enjoy the view. No, it's not on the bank but I think that's a dune area. So that platform would be a concern of mine, especially it seems really developed down there. Everybody else has a platform and they're storing boats and all kinds of stuff down there. So I kind of hate to see more development going on as opposed to just a way to get from the top of the bank down to the beach. So the platform would be my only concern.
On the application itself, there is also 2 kayaks showing on the drawing.
Two what?
2 kayak rack.
Oh, yeah.
Those are existing down there.
Oh, those are existing?
Yes.
Okay, right. But this is not a dune area though, isn't it?
I don't know.
It's a flood zone elevation of about 16, just above the landing area. It's elevation about 8 and 9 in the area neighborhood. Any other questions? Darcy, is this area a sand dune area? Oh.
I would defer to John. He didn't pick a dune area up on it.
I think it is.
I'm looking. Hold on 1 second.
But at the elevation of the landing?
While John is looking for the information, I'm seeing Peak's hands up. Peak.
Yes, please. Thank you. This commissioner, having served on as a group for decades, I think by this point, I'm a little worried about precedent and future applicants going forward wanting landings on a set of steps down a bank. That this seems clearly to me a place that the applicants would like to sit and hang out. And in the past, we have been pretty consistent about essentially not wanting these kinds of structures on the resource areas that we have responsibility for. So I think it was also by Louise's concern. I'm not so keen on this landing there. That's enough for me to say. Thank you.
Thanks, Pete. Bill?
Yeah, I have an objection to the landing as well. And I was really interested to hear what John O'Day had to say. Why? Why do we want to have that there? And he mentioned that, well, there's no dwelling there. It's a very narrow piece of property. And I guess, is this a place to store chairs? I mean, I think I heard him say something to that effect. And part of me is like thinking realistically, what is that landing for? And how often is it going to be used? I mean, it just seems kind of like, you know, a nice thing to have. Oh, isn't that great? We've got this 6x8 landing, but I mean, is it going to be a storage place? I'm thinking probably not. And it's probably not going to even be used much. So, and that's my opinion, or my guesstimate, if you will. But there's something that does seem a little inappropriate about having that landing. I mean, I'm not, that's all I have to say. Thanks.
If the applicant is here and is saying that maybe should just like to jump in and respond for 1 minute to that.
Yeah, thanks.
Sure. Hi, thank you so much. I completely understand. My family's been living in this area since 1934 and has owned property, and we want to save the bank as much as anybody and care deeply about the environment. We're sailors, we're not motorboat people, and we do the best we can. The reason for the landing is small children. We have grandchildren, quite a few grandchildren, and it's just, for us, it would just be a place to kind of put the kids, put some of their toys, have the opportunity to we have a big family, and we just felt, but, we'll obviously defer to what you think, but it would be used quite a bit, just for family reasons. It's not so much that we want to sit there, it's an opportunity for us to put some life jackets and just kind of change a diaper, to be honest, just be off the beach. But whatever's best for you all. Thanks.
Thank you. John? How about John?
No, I lowered my hand, Tom. That was the question that I was going to ask, but the applicant answered the question.
Okay. Any other questions from the commissioner?
I would just like to
Darcy.
state from my past experience, we've only had landings allowed when it's a very, very steep set of stairs and somebody might need a place to stop and sit on a bench. And then the only other thing I'd like to say is if there's a dune there, it should have been checked off on the notice of intent and also shown on the stamped engineering plans.
So I don't think the stairs or the landing are dune. The beach is a dune, but looking at the state maps, they're sort of calling that on the other side of that pathway.
Oh, okay.
The work is not, none of the work was
in the area. Okay.
Okay.
Any more questions? One last chance. If not, anyone?
Yes.
John?
The only, Josh, I thought of that point, but if you backed up, if you put a landing in like halfway down, look just what the more common thing is that we've seen and easily improved, boy, then you're right on the vegetation in the bank. It would be a lot, I think, right, John? It'd be a lot worse to put it there from an environmental point of view.
We kind of had this discussion with the applicants at the beginning of that was sort of their first take on where would be a great place to have it. And that was my response of like, geez, getting it in the bank is actually, we've got some open areas above the bank and we've got some open areas below the bank, but we're just skating this, through the cedar trees that are out there. I think that there's a place where we could accomplish it with less impact.
Thank you, John. 10:18, any public comment on this one?
Seeing none.
Let me try this and see whether it will fly or not. I just want to mention that, a tie, 3 free ties, I know, for any application. So
I don't want to know.
Yeah.
I don't want another no.
It might, Tom, you may, in the past, Tom, what you've done is, in order to help out the applicant and the owner, you kind of take a straw vote. Now, it looks like it's going to go down. John could just ask for a continuance and submit a revised plan without it. But if he gets a no, then he's got to start all over again. So isn't that a fair way to go?
So you're suggesting, John, that the motion...
Draw poll, right?
Yeah.
We're down to the land. We're down to whether or not it can be a landing, I think.
Right. And if a majority, or if it's a 3-3 no, John, then you got to start all over again. So if Tom took a straw vote, then you could say, all right, I'm going to ask, I would be willing to withdraw the landing if that's what you want or the owner wants. I mean, I'm just trying to make it easier for you and the homeowner. That's all.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it.
Good idea.
So this is a straw vote. Whether we would approve the landing on this project or not.
Angela, don't start with me again.
I didn't say anything. I was going to ask, because I'm the new person, could the landing be a little smaller and we'd all go with this? And I kept my mouth shut. I actually walked this and I can understand why they're doing this. And I do feel that they've done a nice job of avoiding any impact on that area. So I'm the one leaning towards approving it. How's that?
Okay. So I'd say, from my opinion, I would agree with it. I don't know about the others, but
I do understand the impact here. And we can't start having everybody have landings. Pete and Louise and Bill make good points here.
They do.
I don't want to hear 15 years from now everybody got landings because of this one vote. This is where I don't know what to do either.
Well, we have to look at case by case basis. So whatever we are doing in here is only applying to these applications. So
But it's got to be, we've got to be consistent too.
Right.
I think Angela, because Peter, you raised that same argument, that we haven't done this. That's to me a really strong argument, Pete, that you raised. I'm glad you did it. I would say because of the steepness, the uniqueness, the location of this, I could probably say it is not consistent, or it's not going to bind us as arbitrary and capricious for the future. But that's where I am, at least. So Angela and I would probably vote yes, right? Angela, is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I'm afraid
Okay,
so.
I mean, that's
I'm
just
agreeing with you.
two out of six. So,
Bill?
Angela's opinion matters to me, and I did not make a site visit to this. And I have been sort of on the fence, and I think Angela has just pushed me into an I vote. Thank you, Angela.
Thanks, Fern. You really hurt my feelings.
Louise's opinion matters to me too, and I wish I had a chance to talk to her about it because I thought
on the edge.
A modest landing, but I don't know that, and I got why they put it in there and how they snaked this down. And I feel like the homeowner wasn't asking for a lot. They were asking to work within what they had.
Right.
If they could take the landing out, great, but I kind of understand why they want it. I don't think they wanted kayaks on it. I really don't. So this is where I'm going to be okay with yes on this one case.
Louise?
I would not be in favor of a landing. I would vote no.
A 48 square foot landing, I am not supportive of.
I think so. I don't know where the bitch went.
If you're storing stuff on this, I don't see that you need 48 square feet. I mean, I'm sitting at a kitchen table here, which is 3 by 6, and that's pretty big. And then I'm going to triple that. That's a big landing. So I'm not keen on a 48 square foot landing.
And on to you, Tom.
So I'm listening to Angela's reasoning, and the only thing that, because the way that they lay out the stair and trying to minimize the cutting of the trees and all that stuff, I'm okay with a landing. So that is the straw vote.
So it would be 42 unless the homeowner and you want to reduce the size of it a little bit.
Exactly.
John, John O'Day,
No, we give everybody.
do you want to take a vote, or do you want to take a look at whether you want to reduce the size of the landing?
1 second. Would be willing to, whether it changes the vote or not, would be, we could trim that down to 6 by 6 instead of 6 by 8.
Okay.
Would be a little less.
Would be good.
Yep. Let me try this. Could I have a motion to approve this project subject to receipt of a revised plan showing a reduced landing to 6 by 6? And if the damage of the vegetation when they build the stair, they should repair it.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Abadili.
I knew you'd start, Angela. Aye.
Tangney. Aye. Foster.
No.
Hearn.
Aye.
Lee.
Aye.
Sampu.
Aye.
Thank you very much, everybody.
5-1. Thank you, John.
Good luck, ma'am.
Thank you very much.
Thank
Good
you.
evening. Enjoy those grandchildren.
Yes.
That's the whole point of everything. Thank you.
The second NOI is Francis T. and Julia B. Kelly, trustee, the Kelly Old Post Real Estate Trust, to replace existing bank stairs and landing at 635 Old Post Road, Contuit, as shown in the Census Map 054, parcel 015-002. John?
It's my last stairs of the night, I swear. John Day from Sullivan Engineering Consulting. I'll bring up the plan. I'll have to switch. This is a property on Old Post Road, about an acre. There's an existing set of stairs leading down to the bank. The existing stairway has an order of conditions. So very similar to kind of my first RDA for stairs, but we felt that this bank was a little bit, these were a little bit more of a stairs. This was a little bit more of a bank. And we felt that the safest approach on this application was to do a notice of intent, but it is to replace exactly in kind what has been out there forever. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Angela.
No, I also looked at this and it's in kind, meaning exactly the same. And I looked at it and I have no problem with this NOI.
I do.
Thank you.
Louise?
I have no problem with this. I would say it is incredibly steep. At least that was my perception. And at that corner, it's just hanging over empty space. I really hope that there's a good pre-construction meeting on this, because I think it could be really tricky in terms of installing it.
Thank you, Louise. John?
Yes, John. Okay, I noticed that the existing dock steps have lights that are sticking up. Or is it? And I noticed no request for lights on this replacement. Is that accurate?
You broke up for a second, and I don't know whether you were talking about the stairs or the dock.
The stairs. That you're asking to replace in kind. I believe those stairs have lights on them. Stand up kind of lights.
You're correct. They do have a stand-up light on them. And so I think that I believe that it would be appropriate to have lights on this extent of stairs, but I don't see an issue with those lights meeting the commission's guidelines of, being back
downward face,
only 2 feet off the ground.
That would make me happy. So I would suggest a revised plan showing that downward lights or whatever, downward facing lights. Secondly is obviously the standard condition of replacing any vegetation that is destroyed. And I would really agree with, I think it was whoever just said, Louise, that there should be because of the complexity of this, the stairs, the environment, that there be a pre-construction protocol meeting with staff. That's where I would come from.
Thank you, John. Any other question from the commissioner? None. 10:18. Any public comment on this?
Seeing none.
None. Let me try this. Could I have a motion to approve this project subject to a revised plan showing the downward lighting along the stair and a pre-construction meeting with the construction protocol submitted 4 weeks prior to the pre-construction meeting?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Tangney, aye. Sampu.
Aye.
Lee.
Aye.
Hearn.
Aye.
Foster.
Aye.
Abadili.
Aye. Thanks, Angela.
Unanimous.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, John. We have the next NOI is Josh Blinkley, Portable Constructions Company, Inc., proposed 4-bedroom single-family dwelling, detached 1-bedroom accessories dwelling unit driveway and associated utilities at 56 Red Wing Lane, Barnstable, as shown on the Assessors Map 318, parcel 007. Dan.
Good evening, Chairman Lee, members of the commission. For the record, my name is Dan Ojala. I'm a land surveyor and also a civil engineer and working at Down Cape Engineering for the construction company. We're doing 56 Red Wing Lane. This is up in the northeast corner of town, almost into Comaquid and so forth. The site is a little bit east of where the sewer is, so we're an on-site septic. It's a big lot, 3 acres. About 1.6 acres is upland. You can see on the map here, we had Paul Shea delineate it. This is an area where there's some clay holding up water. So anywhere you've got a depression, you've got a pretty good chance of getting a shrub scrub thicket, wetland in there. The good news is there's a nice high section of this. Chairman Lee may remember this one. There's a very deep layer of clay, and we dug a very deep hole. The buyers of the lot actually want us to go out there and perk it. We were going to perk at the time of installation to save a little money, but the buyers wanted us to go out there and perk it. So we dug down the 22 feet, shelved it down with a huge excavator and did the soil testing. But it's successful. It's high ground. We're about 7 or 8 feet above the wetland. It's right off of 6A. So you come in off Red Wing, there's a little pocket wetland there. Like I say, any kind of a depression will tend to form a low spot, but we come up just outside of the 100. Let me see, did I share my screen?
No, not yet.
Yeah, let me show you the screen so we can look at the site. We're talking about the driveway coming in here off of Red Wing. So again, just to orient, this is the site here, almost 3 acres, 1.6 up, 6A, and there's a stone wall and a thicket. If you get out there, there's some the flagging was there's a somewhat cleared area for this big excavation for the perk test, and we're completely outside of the 100 to this pocket wetland that's across the street. Come in a little bit of a high point, and then the driveway goes up and is an ADU, which is a small house, is between the 50 and the 100. And just a small portion of the house is even in the 100. So we're pretty far away from the wetland that's to the north. We're taking all the roof runoff, punching through the clay, putting in a deep dry well with sand. So all the roof runoff is going to go into that, infiltrate on site rather than impact those perched wetlands. And again, the septic system is on the right side, very deep system, meets all the code that's outside of your jurisdiction. But meets all the health regulations, I can assure you of that. So you can see the work limit pulls well off the 50. It does come probably to about 51 feet and then pulls about 53 to 54 feet off and then pulls outside of the 100. So all this site up here, we're not asking to disturb, and it'll be left natural. So nothing within the 50. When that's the situation, you do not require mitigation calculations for the hardscape in the 50 to 100. So we did not propose any. Again, the best thing is to preserve what's there, which we're doing. Be glad to answer any questions if you do have them. Thank you.
Thank you, Dan. Bill?
Yeah, in the lower left-hand corner is a quote-unquote vernal pool. And vernal pools are important rearing habitat for fairly rare amphibians. And according to the Wetlands Protection Act regs, a vernal pool habitat basically extends out 100 feet, and you really should not be doing anything within 100 feet of the vernal pool. And I notice on this plan that basically you have the silt fence and a work limit line tucked right down, about as far as you can. And yet, other than that, there's really nothing going on. You're not doing anything up to the 100-foot wetland line. Can you move that lower corner up to the 100-foot line just to stay out of the vernal pool habitat? The reason
that's a great comment. I hadn't really thought that through, and no reason we can't keep that at the 100. It's not a certified vernal pool, but it is a ponding area for sure, and may well be a vernal pool.
The salamanders and wood frogs or what have you will basically, climb out of their pool and they'll migrate and they'll utilize that habitat that's like right there. And it looks like, like a wooded area, if you will. So thank you for, if you can move that out. That's my only concern.
Happy to make that revision.
Thank you.
Any other question from the commissioner? Seeing none. Channel 18, any public comment on this?
Seeing none.
Could I have a motion to approve this project subject to receipt of a revised plan showing the relocations of the work limit line with the silt fence outside of a 100-foot wetland limit?
To the vernal pool, if we could add.
To the vernal pool, just in that lower corner, because it's
Just the lower corner.
Yeah.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Tangney, aye. Sampu?
Aye.
Lee?
Aye.
Hearn?
Aye.
Foster?
Aye.
Abadili?
Aye.
That's unanimous.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for your time.
The second one is David Chastney, proposed single-family dwelling at 306 Lake Elizabeth Drive and 61 Soundview Road, Centerville, as shown on the Assessors Map 227, parcel 050 and 097. Dan?
Good evening. Again, for the record, Dan Ojala, surveyor and civil engineer with Down Cape Engineering, and helping the folks out at 306 Lake Elizabeth Drive with a raise and replace. And the raising or demolishing is actually already done. As we put in the narrative, the old house that was up in this area, it was already taken down because it was in a sad state of disrepair, and just a little shed there right now is the only thing on the property up in the corner. So the good news on this one is undisturbed 50-foot buffer and then some. The work limit line is along an existing gravel drive, which is 60 to probably close to 70 feet off the wetland. So we'll establish a firm silt fence there to contain the construction debris and any silt. Run a new water line in off of Soundview, and then the work proceeds almost all of it outside of the 100. There's a little bit of the deck and a couple of stairs within the 100 and that little bit of water line, but everything else where you can see we've tucked as far away from the wetland as we can. So I think it's a good project, and it's very similar to what was there before. Again, fully protected 50-foot buffer plus. I'll be glad to answer any questions that you have on this matter. Thank you. No comments from the DEP on this one either. Thank you.
Thank you. Question from the commissioner. Seeing none. Channel 18, any public comment on this?
Seeing none.
None. Could I have a motion to approve these projects as submitted?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Tangney, aye. Sampu?
Aye.
Lee?
Aye.
Hearn?
Aye.
Foster?
Aye.
And Abadili?
Aye.
That's unanimous.
Thank you very much for your time. and
Dan.
consideration.
May I just say something?
Who's this?
Mary Lou Gleason.
Okay.
I stepped away for a moment, and it has nothing to do with your vote, but there is town right of way immediately south of parcel 61, and I just want to emphasize that undeveloped area should be preserved.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, that's,
Okay,
we're not
I'm
asking
sorry.
No, that's quite all right. We're not intending to develop that whatsoever, except for about 2 feet of water line in the very corner of it. So that's going to remain. We're not asking permission to disturb that piece at all.
No, I know, but it's very easy sometimes to, and hearing, I mean, I've been on this Zoom for, since the very beginning, and I stepped away just for a moment, but I apologize. It's very easy to inadvertently, so I'm just putting a public comment in the record.
Thank you.
Fair enough.
Thank you very much, everybody. I've been very impressed with the whole meeting.
Thank you. We have one amended order, Douglas Cornegios. Amended order of conditions to remove paved driveway and replace with stone, remove concrete pad and replace with loam and seat, rotated pool and added apron, rebuild portion of the deck, rebuild stone wall, adds 2 aprons to driveway entrance to 289 East Bay Road, Austinville, as shown on the assessors map 16163, parcel 017. Mike?
Yes, can you folks hear me okay?
Yep.
All right, perfect. So yeah, for the record, my name is Mike Pimentel. I'm with JC Engineering. And we're here for a request to amend an order of conditions for a project that was in front of the commission approximately a couple of years ago. The notice, do you want me to share my screen?
Yes, please.
All right. Can you see that?
No.
Not yet.
No.
Oh. Says I'm sharing my screen. You folks can't see it. Oh, it's on the desktop, the Mike desktop.
Are you working with 2 screens?
I am. I'm using my phone and my computer, Dr. Lee.
I just invited Mike Desktop over. Can you try again?
Can you see that now?
Yep, it's coming.
Man.
There it is.
All right, perfect. So this project was in front of the commission, like I said, a couple of years ago. And it primarily involved the upgrade of an existing septic system with a new IA system that's located right over here. And also, we were proposing multiple additions, lateral and mainly vertical additions to a single family home that's located right over here. Also, as part of the project, we were proposing a pool here in the back and some vegetation removal and replacements here in the front along this turnaround driveway. And lastly, we were proposing to seal coat the existing paved driveway completely on our property. Fast forward to today, the applicants came back and said, well, we want to do a few different things here. One of which is take the existing driveway, the bituminous driveway that you see here. I'll highlight it for you. It's not showing that. Okay, there it is. This turnaround driveway right here is going to be replaced with crushed stone. Currently, it's paved. They want to remove the pavement and put in crushed stone. They also want to take out this concrete pad here in the back and replace it with loam and seed. And this concrete pad is located within 50 feet of a wetland here in the back. The other thing they want to do is the pool area was originally aligned basically perpendicular to the home, and now it's rotated 90 degrees and rotated parallel to the back of the home, and we're proposing a concrete apron going around it. There's an existing deck that I'm highlighting right now that is in this area. This existing deck is going to be scaled back and replaced and shown right here when you see this bold black line. So this will be the new replaced deck. Let's see. There's also a kind of 1.5 foot tall stone boulder wall that starts from here and goes along the edge of the driveway and stops somewhere over here. They want to, it's kind of dilapidated, it's falling apart, so they want to rebuild it in the same place and then also just simply extend it where you see the darker blue stone wall here. Also, what they want to do is to add a couple of cobblestone aprons, 3 of them exactly. One here at the driveway entrance,
and the other one over here at the other driveway entrance. And then finally, the interface between the new crushed stone driveway and the bituminous driveway, adding another cobblestone apron here. Let's see, and I think that's about it. Everything else is going to remain the same. The septic system has gone in, and it's already been inspected by the town. So they're currently moving forward with the approved work, but they didn't want to move forward with any more of the work because part of the work hasn't been approved by the commission yet. So that's why we're here in front of you folks, just to get the amended order approved so they can move forward with continue on with the job. So with that, I would take any questions.
Any question from the commissioner? John?
Just a comment, like I was out at the site, I looked at the plan, and it would really be helpful for me, you know, in the future, whether it's a revised plan or amended order, to kind of show what was already approved and what is clearly being asked for that's different. It was very complex for me, that's all. Maybe it's just my old age, but I had sort of struggled with it. So just a comment for the future.
Okay, will do.
Who else has comments? Any other comment from the commissioner? I'm not seeing anything here. One thing, Mike, for the stone wall that you are putting on, typically we would require a top of the wall elevation showing on the drawings.
Say that again, Dr. Lee. You'd want to see what?
Typically, on the top of the stone wall, we need to know the top elevation of the stone wall.
Okay, yeah, there's a contour that runs parallel to it. You see this 8 contour right over here? That's the top of the wall, actually.
That's not quite though.
Yeah, it's about 1.5 foot tall wall. It's about 1.5 foot.
Yeah, so all I'm looking for is that in the revised drawing, can you put the top of the stone wall elevation on it?
Sure, we could do that.
It's just a label to say what it is, how high, I don't know, a couple of feet, that sort of stuff.
Yeah, we could show top of wall elevation and bottom of wall elevation at a few spots along the wall. Sure.
Yep.
Oh, and I do want to mention that we recalculated the amount of hardscape that is proposed for this project. So originally, the hardscape that was proposed was essentially a net zero. There wasn't any additional hardscape, therefore there was no planting mitigation required. And in this particular revised plan, we actually have decreased the amount of hardscape by approximately 729 square feet. So again, no planting mitigation is being proposed for this. And this 729 square feet does not include the replacement of the bituminous driveway here, the turnaround driveway, with crushed stone. So just wanted to add that.
Okay. One last chance. Any question from the commissioner? Any comment from is there any public comment on this one? Channel 18?
Seeing none.
Could I have a motion to approve this amended order subject to receipt of a revised plan showing the top of the stone wall elevations?
So moved.
Anyone second?
Second.
Abbott Deely,
Aye.
Foster,
Aye.
Hearn,
Aye.
Lee,
Aye.
Sampu,
Aye.
and Tangney, aye. That's unanimous.
Thank you. Good luck,
Mike, you need to stop sharing your screen.
Okay, let me do that. All right, thank you folks, appreciate it. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Yeah. Good night.
And we have one continuous, Mark Casper, CB Enterprises, LLC, enhancements of coastal bank by the removal of invasive select pluming of lower and fallen branches and planting of native species. Also repair and maintenance of existing brick retaining wall. and steps at 315 Main Street, Austinville, as shown on the Assessors Map 164, parcel 003-001. And this is a continuance from October the 1st. And the applicant has requested for a second continuance to October the 29th without testimony. Could I have a motion to continue this continuance to October the 29th?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Abedili.
Aye.
Foster.
Aye.
Hearn.
Aye.
Lee.
Aye.
Sampu.
Aye.
And Tangney. That's unanimous.
And we have 3 sets of minutes, September the 10th, September the 17th, and October the 1st.
I move to accept the minutes for September 10th, September 17th, and October 1st.
Second.
Roll call.
Abedili.
Aye.
Foster.
For the first two, but not for I have to abstain for October 1st.
Okay, that's right. You weren't here. Hearn.
Aye.
Lee.
Aye.
Sampu.
I think I was missing one of those, but yes, I have.
Same one. Yep,
Yeah.
October 1st. I got it. And Tangney, aye. So we had 4 for the first. We're all set.
We're all set.
Our next hearing is October the 29th at 6:30. Could I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Abedili.
Yeah. Yes. Aye.
Foster.
Yes.
Hearn.
Yes. Aye.
Lee.
Aye.
Sampu.
Aye.
Tangney, aye. That's unanimous. The time is 6:23.
Looks like
The time is 6:23.